The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, Welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there.
Okay, man, you okay? So sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you find the timing. You play for 100 games, you find the timing.
Welcome back, and we are sorry about the technical difficulties, but we really only missed one big hand during that. They did pause the TV table action for us as well, we learned, so there were only a few hands played. The one hand that was missed was Dylan actually doubling up, so Dylan Pan should be happy about that. He opened with queens, and the chip leader Alex 3-bet jammed his massive stack with ace-8 suited. It was a snap call by the queens and a hold by the queens as well. So Dylan in very good shape now. I would like to see like updated chip counts, but I think he had around 5 million to start the hand if I remember correctly. So that should put him around the 10 million mark. And I think that we had Alex at around 15 million. So they're probably neck and neck, maybe a million apart, but we will have updated chip counts at some point soon. Meanwhile, George and I got to get up for a little bit of a walk around, got some more water, which is quite important on a long day. We've been quite hydrated today, I have to say, so we're doing a good job with that. trying not to load up on too much caffeine and more water when it's a hot day here in Bratislava.
Absolutely right. So after the brief stream interlude, we're going to be back to the action, and we do remain with these 6 contestants vying for the first prize of 120,000 euros. Let's get straight back into it, shall we?
So now we can see Andras. Maybe we have to take a look at everybody's stack size a little bit more carefully again, because we may have missed. But we see Alex still has 13 million. That's plenty. 65 big blinds with 6 players left is a dream.
Yeah, a lovely spot for him. King Jack suited, opening the button, also very favorable, and just gets it through.
So those of you just tuning in, being that the last stream was cut off and we're on a fresh stream, if you're wondering what's going on, this is Jason Glatzer. I'm here with the amazing George Sanford for the Party Poker Grand Prix Bratislava Final 6 at the moment, with 120,000 euro top prize. This is all part of the Party Poker Live Grand Prix Bratislava Poker Festival. The two have combined forces. The Bratislava Poker Festival is part of the Irish Poker Tour brand. And it's been a fantastic week of poker, whether we've had cash games to commentate, we had 5-10 Hold'em, then we had this amazing 50-50 100 PLO affair. The PLO final table was a clinic on how to play PLO final tables. We had day 2 yesterday, and now we have the end of the main event. It's been a pleasure to be alongside George, and I want to thank you all for tuning back in. And straight into the action here.
Pleasure is all mine, sir. Thanks very much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. Can't see Dylan's holding, but he is facing the open from Andras, who has taken a little bit of a hit, and he will be, I think, quite happy to just pick one up, you know, get a bit of momentum going in the right direction. So good to see him back in the mix, picking up a raise and take.
And in the background, you can see those 2 fantastic trophies. It's hard to really make out the Bratislava Poker Festival one just because it's transparent, but you can see it's a map of Slovakia, and then it's pinned right where Bratislava is with a Party Poker Diamond.
Yep.
And right next to that is the more traditional Grand Prix trophy. The winner gets both of those trophies.
Wow, okay.
It's quite nice to get 2 trophies for one event.
Yeah, two festivals coming together, joining forces, which means more silverware and more trophies indeed for the mantelpiece at home for only one of these 6 players. As Ciprian opens the button, and he's going to face some resistance here from Charles Le Poissonnier.
Are we going to see we should be seeing a 3-bet, but I'm curious whether it's going to happen or not.
Yeah, I mean, all options are on the table, obviously, apart from fold. Slow playing, I wouldn't so much. You go for a 3-bet non-all-in, or you can simply jam. I think jamming would be my least favorite option of those. I'd probably go for a 3-bet non-all-in. You know, this 20 big blind effective stack range could
like
lead itself.
1.3-ish?
Sorry?
To about 1.3?
Yeah, a bit smaller than that, actually. Even 1.1, I think, does a good job of leveraging our opponent's stack. They just don't really want to be calling much with ICM, so we kind of put him into the test of, is he going to 4-bet jam or fold for the most part. He goes 1.4, okay, so pretty chunky.
It's kind of like the old days where you're doing like 7, you know, 2 to 7 is more common. You still see it quite a lot online, actually, but live, seemingly you get away with these. It's kind of like the opposite. You get away with these smaller 3-bets, I think, than you do online.
Yep.
People tend to peel quite often, I would say, online in these spots when you have the smaller 3-bets, but live, it seems like with more time to think about it, it's just as effective 1.1 to 1.4. You're going to get more folds with the 1.4. The 1.1 looks a bit stronger, though.
Yeah, and Ciprian, is he going to full foul to this 3-bet? He might be thinking about now's the time to lay down the hammer, and 4-bet jam it in with my ace blocker would be bad timing, as we can see. Charles lurking there in the big blind with the pocket kings. Checks the cards, looks like he's folding. Close to shoving, he says. Whether we believe him or not.
He showed the ace, or did he show?
He showed the ace and folded, yeah.
Okay.
Kind of waved it in the direction.
That's just table talk then.
Yeah. As we get a riffle of the cards and a fresh deal. Good to think about the 120,000 up top. What are the other pay jumps that we've got to be contending for?
So we have first place 120,000. Of course, we've mentioned that many times. Second place 75,000. Third place 47,000. So in that area is where the massive pay jumps go. It's then fourth place 36,000, fifth 28,750, and they've clocked in already 22,500. So they're at a 6,250 pay jump now. It goes up to a 7,250 pay jump then, and then we have the 5-figure pay jumps right after that.
Righty-ho. Thanks very much for the info. Bruce facing this under the gun open. Is that a 3-bet? Yeah, I don't think he wants to be peeling this hand, so it does go for the 3-bet. Quite like this.
What do you think of Alex's 2.5x open from under the gun to begin with a hand like ace? And it was to 500, and I think blinds are still at 200. Maybe
he has employed the larger
240 though.
He has employed the larger sizing, which doesn't make that much sense to me because he's going to be opening such a wide range. Why not go smaller? Oh, whoa! What a flop here. Dylan with the ace-9, top 2 pair versus the top pair. It is a monotone flop.
It's going to cost Alex some chips though, because Bruce does need to bet here, despite can't slow play his top 2 with the 3 clubs on the board. If Alex is facing too much aggression, he's not going to double up, I don't think, Bruce here. The action will likely come to a halt unless one player wants to bluff the river if a club comes on the turn. But let's see how this plays out. And it is a club on the turn.
Oh, that's going to kill some of the action, but a pretty loose peel from Alex pre-flop here, Alexandros, with the ace-10 offsuit out of position. Fortunately for him, was in a dominating situation, which got reversed on the flop. Now 4 clubs to go. Dylan going for a second barrel here. He knows that Alexandros isn't going to have too many offsuit holdings, or shouldn't, defending this 3-bet out of position. So actually the Queen of Clubs is a scare card, but
wow,
goes for the thin value, and I think he's just going to do this in order to be able to check back the river.
I was not expecting a call by Alex there once that 4th club came out, and I felt Dylan was kind of like betting and nothing is calling him unless it's beating him, you know, just to see that if his opponent had a club.
Yeah. Yeah, the only clubs really in his opponent's range are like the pairs with 1 club, you know, so pocket 8s with a club, pocket 10s potentially with a club.
But meanwhile, we have our first lead change at the final table with Dylan Bruce, a.k.a. the Poker Bruce Lee, regaining the lead. Not regaining, but taking the lead for the first time. He doubled right when the stream went off with queens, and now won a big pot against Alex to take the lead. Alex still has a lot of chips, but he's a bit off that 16 million mark that he was at. 18
million at one point, and Alexandros, you could see, let's just focus our eyes on him in the center of the screen. A slightly dejected look, a rather frantic energy, riffling the chips, head down, kind of staring at the felt. I can empathize with that all too well. It is quite easy to let things slide and maybe be a bit hard on yourself, but he hasn't really put a foot wrong. Went for an aggressive jam earlier, doubled up Dylan, and now Dylan causing him some problems with the ace-9 holding in the previous hand. So let's see how he develops in terms of his demeanor and his confidence at the table. That will be a good thing to keep an eye on. The glasses are coming off now as he realizes that it's back to work. The chip lead, unfortunately, has been relinquished.
Yeah, he seems a little bit
animated.
Yeah, like Charles and Andras and him have all been quite composed throughout the final table.
Easy to be composed when things are going well, right, though?
Yeah, and same with Dylan. Dylan as well. I would say all of them are look like they're experienced, been here, done that before. Obviously, they have some nerves most likely as well, but yeah, it's much different than some of the other players that we've seen that are moving around all the time.
Yeah. Checking back the ace, and now a benefactor of that situation as he finds a ace-high board, which typically shouldn't favor him in the check-back line pre-flop, but does indeed have the top pair and could see some barreling from our opponent, knowing that Alexandros is usually going to be kind of centering around maybe a low gut shot, maybe a 4x, maybe a jack, less so the ace. Fortunately for Andres, or fortunately in this case, not really turning any equity whatsoever, so would be surprised to see him go for the no equity double barrel, but it looks like that's exactly what he's doing.
He must really think that his opponent isn't checking back any aces. That's the only thing I can think of, and trying to get him off something like a jack or even a 4 would be calling a min bet on the flop.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some other cards that may just be a little bit, you know, like a small pocket pair, but that would be the same kind of idea where a bet on the turn typically gets those off. But Alex has a very easy decision to make. You don't want to raise here, you just want to call.
Blind v blind. He knows that his opponent is going to have all of these kind of raggy Queen X, 10X holdings, which turn into quite natural double barrels after a flop stab. And a 5 on the river gives Andras a smidgen of showdown value, maybe versus a stubborn 4x holding, but for the most part, he's still going to know that facing the call on the flop and the turn, that 5 should be no good.
I think more often than not, this goes check-check, because if Alex bets, he's only being called by, I think, better hands. Like, there's a lot of 2 pairs that are possible. Yeah, so he checks it back. And a little bit, he also wants to win this pot to change the momentum as well. Momentum is isn't like important in terms of the math, but it's important in terms of the psychology.
Definitely.
Especially in live poker.
Especially for someone that we've seen to show himself to be somewhat of an emotional player. I was railing my friend who went deep into this tournament, and actually Alexandros was very animated about my friend bluffing it off to a completely different opponent. So maybe like there was a bit of rivalry at the table between him and a good buddy of mine. So I found that whole situation quite strange, and I could see why maybe after the disdain that he had for losing the big pot there versus Dylan, just showing himself to be having the type of player to be having his heart on his sleeve. Keep a keen eye on that one as we go to the next hand.
We're curious how all of you are doing in the free roll. We hope many of you in the chat did enter it. Is anybody doubled up already? Is anybody already out?
Yeah, please let us know.
And we're sorry we were not here at the very start of that free roll, but we did give out the password quite often, so you hardcore Twitch followers did get in time for the password.
Yeah, as Monsieur Le Boissonnière opens the cutoff.
This explains the earlier open of 500,000 with the ace-10. Mines were really 122.40.
Ah, okay.
So it makes a lot more sense now.
And Alexandros, I'll tell you what, after the semi-blow up there, just continuing the ace-10 out of position for no reason, then calling down on a pretty, on a board that really didn't favor him that much. Now winning the pot blind v blind versus Andras, and now finds himself in a lovely situation with pocket jacks.
What's your 3-bet size here? 6 big blinds?
No, much more, I think.
Because you're in the small blind, not the big blind?
Well, we are, what, almost 30 big blinds effective. He's open to 2. I'd be going to somewhere 7.5 BB. I don't like the call, personally.
No, I think that's kind of the... I mean, it's still better than folding, but it's a lot. It's not as good as deciding how much to 3-bet. If you're making like a mathematical difference in terms of 6, 7, 8, 9 big blinds, that's a lesser of an issue than just calling.
It's just such an unnecessarily big adjustment to make. I guess what he's thinking is he wants to kind of have a trap in there, but Jack's just not the holding to do that. You really want to be driving the action. You don't mind folding out hands like King X suited and a Queen 10 suited. Denying equity to these hands. Now we're often going to be going to the flop 3 ways out of position.
Yeah, this wasn't the move that I like at all.
Yeah, strange one. And
now he's maybe going to have to get away from it. I mean, he should be calling at least a single bet. But
well, this is the thing. You do see an overcard quite frequently with a hand such as Jack's. If he's making some kind of adjustment, thinking that Thomas is absolutely wild in the big blind, I still wouldn't really get on board with it, because we've seen Thomas to be quite snug. And Charles, multi-way here, he's got himself a smidgen of backdoor equity here with the overcard, the backdoor diamonds. Goes for a small bet, multi-way, the King X board.
I like this.
Fairly good for him.
Special opener, and he has a lot of kings that he's opening with, and has no idea that he's up against jacks. But even so, if he bets again on the turn, the jack should fold.
Yep. Maybe.
Well, now he has a diamond draw,
on the
actually.
turn. Things getting spicy now as Charles. Interesting to know what he thinks his opponent's range is arriving to the turn here. Is my opponent going to flat hands like 7s, 6s, 5s, 8s, and then also call the flop with a player behind? Probably not. Yes to flatting pre, maybe not to calling the flop. So it does seem that it's going to be quite ace-9 or king X heavy at that point.
But meanwhile, the jacks are good. It's a question of whether Charles can push him off. That flush didn't complete, no ace came. So it looks like people can still get in the free roll, because if several are asking for the password, that's great. Get on in. And we had a question by Poker Instincts, my table all sitting out here for the free roll. The etiquette is steal away.
Yeah.
As fast as you can.
Other players would do that in your situation, so you might as well do it. It's a free roll at the end of the day. It's not the WSOP main where you've been playing with these guys for 2 days and you're playing for, life-changing amounts of money. These things happen, and sometimes you're the benefactor, sometimes you get cut out and you're actually getting blinded out. So don't think there's anything wrong with stealing there.
It's
interesting spot for Charles, yeah, because he's got this ace-8, and the ace is actually quite nice to have here. It's got some, it kind of unblocks a lot of these hands that Alexandros would arrive here with, such as the queen jacks, the queen 10s, the jack 10s that may now choose to bluff. Going for some table talk now is Alexandros. Looks extremely comfortable.
If he was bluffing, though, you think he would be this comfortable? I don't know. I find that as like a little bit of a tell.
Yeah,
sometimes.
I do as well. I am quite chatty, but I don't like to chat for this exact reason, because it's much easier to have a greater access to language and be more comfortable when you've got a good hand. Just another sort of reverse free roll for me, chatting here in this situation.
And I don't mind Charles tanking. It's for a quarter of his stack. He connected with the 8. He's basically beating a bluff. He may try to push even like a 9 if he puts his opponent on a 9, but how many? I mean, it was a small blind call, so he has a lot of like 9-10s, but he also has some 9-8s. You never really put him on jacks, that's the thing.
Let's see if we can listen to some of this table talk. Yeah, he does indeed believe the talk. He says, great talk.
Will I? I'm not sure.
And then he said, show the bluff.
Yeah. Exactly.
But you don't fold and say show the bluff if you don't think that you were right with your fold.
Exactly. You're kind of being a bit tongue-in-cheek there, as if to say, "Come on, man, I don't think you've got the ability to sort of do this table talk and actually have a bluff. It would be an extremely good acting job." And yeah, Charles sniffing it out nicely there.
So it looks like maybe we have some deck change, maybe some coloring up of some chips.
Jack? I saw you wanted to treat it also.
This is the most chatter we've seen at the table between all the players.
Played in my mind also.
I don't remember Charles chatting away earlier, so getting a bit more comfortable himself.
Thank you.
If I had a cent for posting stars and password, I would be richer. Yeah, if you had like a cent for every message you sent Supernova this week, you would be probably worth at least €10. Multiply that by many weeks and years.
And compound it.
Then you'd be maybe a millionaire.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nightbite. You should be sharing, you should be following the channel. That way you get alerts every time Party Poker TV is live. If you've liked George and I, you'll definitely like anybody that's commentating at the Party Poker TV channel. They have a whole wide array of people, both past and hopefully in the future. And we've mixed it up quite a lot. We had so many guests over the week.
Yeah, we've had a good
Never
good
mind.
sound bites.
Never mind. I saw a jam in the small blind before I saw Chip Rams.
Yeah, no altercation there. Argo, yeah, I'm still living in Bratislava, just outside the city right now. And yeah, this is going to be my base for the time being, I would imagine. I'm looking forward to going back and visiting some parents, my family, and my close friends back in the UK, though, for the majority of the summer. That's going to be next week. So looking
we
forward
have
to that.
something in common, actually.
Yeah, you're going there?
Doing it to the States, but the same
Yeah,
idea
but-
where I'm just taking a bit of time to myself, to
Exactly.
my family, and prioritizing what's important. To me, poker is very important, but when I take a step back, then I need to balance that with spending time with my family, especially being as far away and for as long as I've lived.
Oh, we do have an all-in confrontation here. I thought the hand got folded. So the graphics just catching up. Apologies for our oversight on that one.
I mean, the dealer's hiding, like, the camera angle and the graphics. I don't think we basically did anything.
But we've got this Tomas shouty guy from the Czech Republic sort of posturing himself over the table.
So we have mystery hand against ace-9, so I guess it was, here we go, king-queen. I guess it was an ace-9 open and then a jam from the small blind by Thomas.
And he's called it off.
So let's see if Thomas double up again. This would be his fourth double.
No, not so far. He's looking for a king or a queen. Obviously, a 10 or a 9 could give him some extra outs as well. No, the deuce is not going to be good for him. He's looking for paint, and he needs it right now. Complete break.
Hours for Thomas, out in sixth place for 22,500 euros, and the top 5 are now each guaranteed 28,750 euros. It seems like several people in the chat are very happy either that Thomas hit the rail, or we do have a lot of Dylan Bruce fans in the chat, happy that Dylan extended his chip lead. I've become a Dylan fan because of the chat, actually. I do like the way Charles and Andras...
I like the way he's played as well. I think he's been very shrewd. I really like the check raise earlier with 6s on 9-5-3 for protection.
Adrian has played quite well as well. Just hasn't had like any stack to really do anything with. But, he's hanging around actually. So I don't mean to leave him out of the equation. I wasn't that impressed with Thomas's demeanor. You know, the first all-in I was okay with, but the second all-in, you know,
Just got a bit silly at one point, didn't it? You know,
that is what it is.
the bellowing, the kind of pumping of the chest, the high fives with the rail are great. Yeah, it's good. It's good to feel animated, but there needs to be a level of decorum and sportsmanship within the game, as was mentioned by a couple of you guys in the chat earlier. It's just a little bit, you know, uncomfortable to commentate on someone that's shouting so loudly you can't hear yourself think, so let alone how the players felt in that situation. Anyway, let's get back to business here as Ciprian just lets another one go. 8-5, not wanting to tangle with the chip leader Dylan there in seat 1. And we have 5 left as Alexandros puts the full hoodie and glasses on.
As does Ciprian.
Yeah, so 2 guys now kind of falling into their hood, potentially looking to hide now after we saw such an animated spell from him, talking up a treat on the river there with the value holding. And Charles de Boissonnière ended up finding the fold. So a real shift in character there from Alexandros.
I believe we're actually on a 20-minute delay, but it's a similar idea. But it being asking if it's recorded, of course, it would be, you know, we can't see the whole cards in real time. That wouldn't make any sense whatsoever.
No.
So yes, it is recorded and then sent through a video feed that we are now seeing on a 20-minute delay, but it's not something that was recorded like years ago. This is happening right now on the second to top floor at Card Casino Bratislava. There's a bit of a rail going on here too for the final 5. You can see some of them in the background.
Certainly is. Interesting spot developing here. Ace Queen versus 7s. Can't quite remember the extent of Charles's stack there in the big blind. And as you can see, a strong player, Dylan, the first thing that he needs to note is, okay, so yeah, I should be ahead of this shoving range, so I do want to call, but I just need to see the stack of my opponent behind. Not looking to
There was
cam.
emotion in his head too. If you stare at his face, he was like,
Yeah. Exactly. Mulling it over.
But I think Charles is on a stack of around like 7, but it might be 6.
Yeah, so under the 30 big blind range.
I mean, he's either calling or shoving, I believe. So let's see.
I don't
which
think
he
he's
chooses.
ever folding here, yeah.
Ciprian should be folding. Should be jamming a lot wider than Ace Queen. He should even be jamming every pocket pair. So 7s are well ahead of that range.
Does go for the jam, and we've got Dylan, who's had an amazing spell over the past hour or so, catapulting himself into the chip lead. He's versus the Romanian in seat 9. Seat 1 versus seat 9. Who is going to come out on top? 7s holding strong so far on the 8-4-4. Mr. Fadenator a queen. Oh, and it's a full house on the turn for Dylan. And his run just goes from strength to strength as we see now 4 people left at the Bratislava Poker Festival.
But this is what I like to see. Immediately shaking hands, smile on his face.
Yeah.
Enjoyed the experience, even though Ciprian is out of chips. Yes, I've been waiting to say that all day. But Ciprian is out of chips. He does go home 28,750 euros richer. Nothing to laugh at all. And now the final 4, I don't see them stopping to talk a deal at all. So it maybe not be four-handed that may happen. It may not happen at all, but they've all locked up 36,000. They're playing for an 11,000 euro pay jump already, with third place paying 47,000, runner-up 75,000, and we've mentioned many, many times, and we'll mention it once again, that the winner will take home 120,000 euros, along with those 2 trophies you see on the podium in the center over there.
Yep.
They may have to get some extra suitcase room, but with the 120,000 euro top prize, I think they could spend the extra few bucks to do so. I'm pretty sure they can have them shipped as well. But those are 2 trophies I'd like on my mantelpiece, and I'm sure you would too, George.
Absolutely. I don't think my mantelpiece is big enough for them, to be honest. They're quite they carry quite a presence.
With 120,000 euros, not only can you afford the shipping, you can afford to redesign your mantelpiece as well.
It's true, that's the last of your worries, I guess, with that kind of money. So, Dylan back in the mix. King 10 opening the button now, and he is almost at the 20 million mark. Andras, 10-9 suited. Pretty standard defend. Interesting to see if he goes for the jam here. Yeah, I don't think so either. It's a little bit too deep for that, and ICM, he's kind of neck and neck with Charles there. Doesn't want to do anything too silly. 5-3 deuce.
Nice flop there for Andras.
Not too bad.
Flush draw, and also hits the big blind's range with all those low cards, and he may take a stab at it after Dylan Bruce did check after not connecting with his King 10. He could technically, with a bet, push Dylan off this hand while still having a bit of equity if he's called. He doesn't want to be raised, though. He certainly doesn't want to be jammed upon. So he may try to check to keep the pot small so he does see that river, but I think after it's checked, we're going to see Andras bet, and that's exactly what he does. It's not a big bet, though. It's 400,000 into a pot of 1.4 million. And yeah, Dylan wastes no time in folding, so nice awareness there by Andras.
Absolutely.
To take down that pot, and back to 6.3 million. He seems to be always hovering around this between 6 and 10 all final table long.
Yeah, not a bad place to be, just hovering around that kind of 20 to 30 big blind mark. Hasn't really been in any danger of being eliminated so far, and has lost a couple of big all-ins, so definitely a man to keep an eye on.
So Chaz is asking about the high roller. No, it's not visible, but I can tell you some facts about it. I don't know who is exactly the chip leader at the moment, but there are 8 players left. They're playing for a 60,000 euro top prize. Martin Arden from Netherlands, Harada Alcalde from Spain, Eric Wig from Sweden, January, I love that name, January Friedrich from Poland, Martin Planetskig from Argentina. It's so international.
Anton Wig. Played
Oh, it's Anton. Why am I saying Eric? It's I didn't even know Anton was here.
No, neither did I.
I mean, I bumped into Martin real quick, you know.
Martin who?
Martin Cabral. Also came last night to play the high roller. Andre Centula and Michael Schuh. But yeah, I would say Anton is the most experienced at this final table, and we're looking at, we are in the money now. 8 places paid, 10,000 euros, and as I mentioned, it's a 60,000 euro top prize.
Yeah.
If you want another update later, I'm more than happy to give. Just ask, but don't ask 5 minutes later. Wait like 20, 30 minutes. And even though I don't have hands or chip counts, I can tell you who busted where. That I do have access to.
Absolutely right. So we'll keep you updated on that one as the action develops over there in the 3K high roller. Also running right now, we have the Omaha as well, side event.
Yes, and the Bratislava Poker Cup, which attracted 240 entries, is down to 27.
Yeah.
The 300 Omaha is down to 13 out of 32, and then there's a Last Chance Turbo that kicked off at 8, got 56 runners. I'm not sure if late reg is still open in that. It may be just about closing.
Yeah.
So we can give another look at that later. There are 38 players remaining in that as well. For now, we're going to head back into our view of the main event of here that we are covering, but by all means, you can ask us again later. So back to the action here. This is we're up to 150. This is interesting. So I guess it was a limp pop. We missed this while we were chatting, but that's the only thing I can see here. It's blind versus blind, top pair versus bottom pair. And it's check back call for 300,000 to bring the pot already up to 1.3 million.
10 on the turn, not the best of cards for either player here. Alexandros, I think quite shrewd there to check back. Doesn't really, 9 with such a poor kicker there.
Is Andras going to try to...
Seeing some improvements, yeah. So Andras now, is he aware enough to turn his 4 into a bluff? You are going to face a rather showdown-heavy check-back range on the turn, which is mostly going to include better hands than yours, i.e. the 9Xs, the 6Xs. And now trying to turn his hand into a bluff. This is a masterful choice, I would believe. doesn't get much worse in terms of hands that we check call flop with and arrive here with. You know, everything kind of gets there, all of our diamonds, and so we do need to have some bluffs. And the 4 just having such limited showdown value that he does decide to turn it into a bluff, goes for the half pot. It's a really believable sizing, you know. You can value bet essentially any diamond for this size. So quite difficult for Alexandros to really consider a worse hand, and an amazing bluff from Andras, and good momentum for him. As we were saying, teetering around the 20 to 30 big blind mark, and it's small pots like that that he's been excellent with his execution.
Yeah, I've been rather impressed, and not just at this festival. I mentioned that I've seen him before, and I've always been impressed with his play. Not a lot of people probably know who he is. I think George knows who he is from the.
I've seen him around the block,
online, quite a lot, and he is a very experienced online player as well. But I think we're going to see bigger things to come from Andras. Possibly also from the entire table. Charles I recognize from somewhere, but really outside of Andras with this final 4, he's really the only of the 4 that I've seen outside of this particular tournament.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I'm going to get some information on Charles, and we can get a little bit of a deeper look at some of the Hendon mobs of these guys for you.
Thank you, Saxony. I'm getting some love. George is getting some love at times as well. But love doing this comps with George, not only because I like George as a person, but just I'm enjoying the analysis, and it's making me think a little bit, which is always good. As I mentioned, I consider George to be a stronger theoretical player than I am, and probably the stronger overall live player, you know, when it comes to most formats.
Keep going, keep going.
I'm very aware of where I stand. I try to be honest with myself. I do not consider myself a bad player, but I understand that there are a lot of better players than I am, and it's important to recognize that at the poker table, who you think are better than you, who you think you can find some exploits are, and if you can do that and not have the ego get in the way, you can do quite well over time.
Wow, so Charles Le Boissonniere actually had a huge score in the Party Poker Live Millions in North America for 600,000 Canadian dollars. That was back in 2018, so that's most of the information I've been able to find on him. I believe that might have been a 10K buy-in, so someone that's certainly cut his teeth pre-COVID at the higher buy-in level. Now here in Bratislava, mixing it up in the 500.
I'm not surprised to learn that based on his demeanor at this final table. He has played quite well, doesn't look nervous at all, and that's hard to do when you're playing for so much money, but he's played for a lot more. He still wants that trophy for sure. He didn't come out here to Bratislava not to try to win the trophy. But that's rather impressive, 600,000. I guess that was at the playground.
Yeah, it must have been. Party Poker, Live Millions North America at the Playground Poker Club in Quebec. Absolutely
cool.
right. Which is the French-speaking side of Canada, right?
Yeah, and he has obviously a French surname.
Extremely French surname, yeah.
It's Caroline. Sweet Caroline.
Ba, ba, ba.
We had some moments in Malta, you know, and also in other after Malta. I think it was in January we ran into each other. You know, very
Lovely.
nice lady. Enjoy watching her play poker as well. Has a strong understanding of the game. But whether you have a strong understanding of the game or not, that's not how I make my friends.
Yeah, a bit of a social climber comment there, Jason.
Yeah.
So Bruce actually going for the peel here with the Ace-King four-handed. Dylan, sorry, Bruce is his second name. It's just a little bit backwards with people with two names.
We can just call him Poker Bruce Lee again, make things easy.
Poker Bruce Lee, you keep plugging that one.
I love it. It's got to stick somehow. There's enough of his friends in the chat where it's going to get back to him.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, and he has outflopped his opponent with that Ace-King, flopping top pair. Is Alexandros going to do anything crazy? No, just snap check folding. And a slightly more dejected look from the Greek player, I have to say, ever since the sort of decline in chips that he had, going from the overwhelming chip leader coming into this final table, now really in a battle at the bottom of the barrel with these guys. 4 left, and he may well be the favorite to go out next if this kind of momentum carries on for him.
But I like that because he lost, he doubled up Dylan, and then he lost a big pot to Dylan, and he quickly folded there. I'm surprised Dylan didn't 3-bet that ace-king, but it would have worked out the same in terms of the amount of chips. He 3-bets, the 2s can't come along out of position to a 3-bet. Even in position, it's a bit of a loose call there. Some players will do it, but there's no set mining involved at this point in time.
Yeah, agreed on that one. And for those of you who are ears pricked up at the sound of the 600,000 Canadian dollar score, that was over for Charles Le Boissonniere, the Canadian player you can see there with the long ponytail. So he's had some huge scores. I think CAD to dollars is about, what, 1.8, something like that?
I think a little less.
A little less? 1.6?
Something like that.
Okay, so
we can check out
it's a huge score.
We can do a quick conversion. We have access to Google here, CAD to USD. And it's 1 Canadian dollar equals 3/4 of an American dollar, so about 450, 475.
Just a massive score. Yeah, so that would eclipse the winning prize here by about 4x. Or 3.5x, sorry. So yeah, insane amount. And that's just one of the many cashes I'm sure he's had, as there were some other articles about him. I couldn't find the Hinder mob, unfortunately. So Dylan going for a bet here. Alexandros sticking around on the flop.
It's a big bet too, 2 million into 2.4.
And this is kind of what I mean about Alexandros, defending the Jack-5 offsuit. It's kind of asking for trouble, really.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when, maybe you're trying to make things happen rather than stick to a game plan. And you can just see that dejected look continue in his table demeanor, and that's something really that can self-destruct and cost him a lot of EV here. He's 4 left, he's playing for 120,000, and he looks like he's just received some really bad news on the phone.
So we've learned from Supernova that there's only 2 minutes to go to get into this free roll. So you have only 2 minutes. As we mentioned, there's 2 online day 1 tickets to the Grand Prix Malta, which has a 1 million guarantee. So that's basically just 1,100 euros just sitting up top to the top 2. It pays out 120 spots. Absolutely free to enter. If you don't have a Party Poker account, it could even be a new Party Poker account, registering for this free roll, because all you need is the password, which Nightbot just shared with us, is final. So get on in and please give us some updates. I haven't seen one of you update whether you've doubled up, whether you've already dusted off your stack. It's okay. There's no shame in a free roll. You are really, even though there's a lot of tickets, I know I would be playing this just solely to get into the top 2, just because of the drop-off between 2nd and 3rd. So to me, it plays more like a satellite with paying 2 spots. But for many of you, it would play out differently, where there's a lot of tickets in the middle. And pretty much free is free, so get on in.
Free is free. Great insight there from you, Jason. A free roll is free, guys.
This is what happens after 8 hours plus late night last night, that my vocabulary goes down a little bit, George.
No worries. I come alive at night, so I don't mind. So yeah, Dylan just missing that one there. Really nice 3-bet with the 8-7 of hearts, taking it down versus Andros's button open, surrendering the ace-5. So yet more solid work done by the chip leader. And Dylan, who was half Canadian, we believe, having some fans in the chat, continuing to motor on through, and looks like he's got half of his name etched on the trophy so far. It's been an absolute clinic.
Do you think we can have Poker Bruce Lee etched onto the trophy? Then he has to live with it.
I think you're going to have to make that request, not me.
Yeah.
Actually,
You've given up on the nickname.
I've given up on it, yeah. So we're seeing a limp in here, 20 big blinds effective. Charles with the 9 deuce. Is he going to turn that into one of these kind of ISOs as a bluff in position? Looks like he is.
It's very interesting to do that against the chip leader, and for such a big size as well. I mean, it's not that big actually, because blinds are
2.8x. Yeah.
200. It's okay, and it works.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if he had some kind of read that we just don't see, because it's a bit ambitious to do that with 9-2 just for the blinds, but if you feel pretty confident that it's going to work more than half the time, it's a good play.
Yeah, just trying to get some of these hands like 10-6, obviously the 10-5, 9-6. Some of the weaker Jack X and Queen X out of there as well. The hand has such limited playability that you do see people ISO quite aggressively.
I might need to add that to my arsenal. I love when that happens to me, and because I sometimes trap from the small blind because I have a more small blind limping strategy than you do on most tables, especially if I have someone that I know is raising every time I limp.
Yeah.
I let them take it a few times, and then when I have something, I fight back at them,
Yeah.
or I just call, and if it's super strong, etc., there's different.
So you're kind of building a
default.
reactive counter strategy to that, and that's definitely got its merit. Andras here with the ace-8, gonna be at least defending, might get fruity.
It is four-handed. That makes a big difference, actually.
Yeah, I think jamming would be out of the question. Just too many big blinds flying in there. If we had 15, even 18, I think I'd like the jam. But yeah, at this depth, don't mind the defend, especially as if I was there sitting in his position, I'd be kind of aware that Alexandros is kind of going the wrong direction and maybe losing it a little bit. So definitely want to outlast him at the very least.
If the bet is small, we may see Andras stick around as well. With just some backdoors here, the 6-7 connects a little bit with the 8, his ace. You may also think he's actually ahead here. The bet was 500 into 1.4 million, so I can see this going either way. And tight is right in this spot.
Yeah.
11,000 pay jump coming up. No need to blow through more chips.
Keep going.
Move on to the next hand.
Absolutely right, with the 4 left. As you see, Charles just kind of checking in with himself and also his opponents at the table. Keep a keen eye on him. We've seen that he's had a big a big cash over in Canada, and from a Google search seems to be someone very much at the forefront of the live MTT Hold'em game. It's good to use these opportunities as not only enjoyable to watch, but to learn as well. People with experience of buy-ins of that ilk, often you can.
I think they were just asked whether they wanted to take the next break, and I believe that they will, but it may be shorter than the usual 15 minutes.
Okay.
But we do have a break in about 15 minutes, it seems, if I was overhearing the conversation correctly.
Yeah, and Dylan now just starting to put a clinic on. He's kind of hitting the gas a little bit with the 5 deuce of diamonds. Getting a customer from Alexandros could never believe that he's actually dominating his opponent, but that's exactly what's happening right now as we go 5 deuce versus 5-4 to the flop.
2 players and 5 high. So this is good for actually Dylan.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it doesn't connect with his 5 deuce, but it connects with his range. Does not connect really very much with Alex's range. He does have some aces, obviously, but still it's better for Bruce's range, and in this case it should work.
And the snap 500k bet takes it down.
Dylan is absolutely owning Alex lately, so he doubled through Alex. He won a nice pot against Alex, and won a couple of small pots now against Alex. He seems a little bit more relaxed again than he was before, but you can see that he's not as stoic as he was. motions. You know, he at times can be a little bit chatty, but always seemed a little bit relaxed. And now you can see his movements are a little bit more stiff than they were before, but better than it was about 10, 15 minutes ago.
Yeah, but all of that movement, all of this energy that's expended will cost you in the long run, because poker, especially when you're playing for this amount of money and you've been grinding this tournament for now 3 days, long sessions, you know, really big decisions now. You need to preserve that energy. You need to make sure that you have the best of your ability to bring to the table. And it's difficult to do that if you're jumping around, moving around, getting emotional. Easier said than done. We've all been there. We've all felt hot under the collar, under the stress of a big situation. But yeah, all this jumping around and emotional stuff is probably only going to be a hindrance and definitely not a help.
It makes what Phil Hellmuth, who let's say doesn't have a GTO strategy, is like a very good field player, though. He deserves the recognition of winning the most WSOP bracelets, but he's always triggered. Now, not always, but he's triggered quite easily. Yet somehow he's still quite successful because he has a lot of runner-ups as well. On top of that, everybody was against him in this heads-up showdown against everybody he played, and yet he won again. You know, it's kind of impressive that he's overcoming his emotions in a way. Maybe it's a way of him getting some release, but it seems to then affect him quite a lot when he does it.
Yeah,
Probably
that's
the
true.
most extreme example.
He is playing mostly the bracelets he'd be competing for would be mixed games these days, right? I mean, is he getting any runs in the Hold'em with his style? It's kind of outdated, no?
I mean, when he did those heads-up matches a year ago, he was beating pretty much everybody in Hold'em. You know, it didn't matter who he was facing.
Wow. That is a surprise.
Beating people 3 days in a row, big money on the line.
And Alexandros there opening the Jack-4 offsuit on the button. Somewhat of a decent indicator that our suspicions were indeed correct and that he is getting a little bit impatient.
More Dylan fans in the chat. It seems like at least the people that have a favorite, 95% of them are rooting for Dylan at this point.
It does seem that way.
What happened to Andros is real. What happened to Alex is real. What about Charles? Charles has got the most cashes, we believe, on this final table, even though his Hendon mop is blocked. Our detective George here was able to find that big cash that he had at Party Poker Millions back in 2018, where he locked up 600,000 Canadian.
Oh yeah. Let's have a look at some of the other players, shall we? Let's have a look at Alexandros, actually. We've been giving him a bit of a tough time because he's been wearing his heart on his sleeve.
He's been playing quite well overall, you know, like it's just more like it just seemed like he could blow up, but he hasn't blown up at all despite the change in demeanor. He's played fairly well and keeping his composure when it comes to how his chips are being played, even if his body language is saying something else.
I mean, there's been some pretty wide defends, the Jack-5 off, and then he just opened the Jack-4. So, like, small things are seeping through the cracks, but I agree, overall, it seems like he's got a good idea of what he's doing.
And Andres thinking about a squeeze, I believe.
Total live earnings of $2,600. Wow, so that's that goes.
Why we never heard of him before.
Yeah, that goes to tell you some of the reason that he's so emotional here. He just came 8th in the Greek Poker Masters in Loutraki about a couple of months ago. I didn't even know they're allowed to run tournaments in Greece.
So imagine coming in with just 2,000 in live cashes and you've already locked up 36,000. So it's been a very successful event for Alex, regardless of how this turns out.
Wow.
Andros is probably between the 200,000 and 300,000 range. He's playing a lot of these, 550s, 1Ks that I've seen a few times this year, and I believe last year as well. He's like a player that I've noticed post-pandemic, like George, because I was following when live poker was pretty much dead during the pandemic. I was following the big online events, and Andras' name came up more than once, so I recognize him from there as well. He's shown he's a very experienced player on his play at the final table. But meanwhile, we have a 5-3-3 flop, and Alexandros continuing for 710,000. Gets one player to fold. Andras with the overpair, not going anywhere quite yet, with just a call. And the 5 on the turn, the 7s are still above both of those. There's not really any 5s or 3s in the under the gun opening range, unless it's something like pocket 5s or pocket 3s, but there's only one combination of each of those, and the odds of that happening, of course, there's some ace 5 suiteds, potentially even an ace 3 suited, but that's really about it. I don't see like a 5-6 suited opening from onto the gun, but then again, it could be a little bit different.
Andras Ballo with the check mark. As those 7s hold up. 3.3 million in there. It's a big chunk of change at this stage of the tournament. How does he navigate the river?
It'll be interesting if Alex lays on some pressure on this river, in fact. Andras may want to try to set the price. A small bet of 300,000 into 3.3 million. No reason for Alex to call. He could raise or fold.
Let's go! Yes, sir! Let's go! Woo!
And I think that's like an anti-Alex rail more than an Andras rail, but I could be wrong about that one.
Could be very well.
But we haven't really seen Andras win like a decent-sized pot in a while, and he does appear to. There is a rather sizable Hungarian contingent here, so maybe they have joined the rail. They weren't there throughout the day, but as we're down to the final 4, of course, now would be the time to start railing your fellow countrymate. But look at this, 22 million for Dylan Bruce. He has not only the most chips, but he has more than the other 3 players put together. Quite impressive.
Absolutely.
That can change pretty quickly, but still, for now, he is in control.
In the absolute driver's seat with almost 100 big blinds, 4 left in the tournament is what you absolutely dream of. And essentially just opening the deck at this stage, but does allow the 8-7 off to go. Charles getting a bit short. Sub 20 big blinds now. Bit of a danger zone situation for him. Not quite absolute red flag territory yet, but
he so reminds me of like a Steve O'Dwyer in terms of like his demeanor, but not in terms of his play. Like Steve likes to play pots. You know, that's the one thing about Steve, and he plays post flop extremely well.
Yeah,
and makes terrific reads. Has a good and studies quite a lot. I'm sure Charles does too, but it's more just the look and the demeanor.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you on that one.
So not a flop. Either player helps improve either player, but somebody's going to try to rep it's in their range, and it's looking like Alexandros with the best hand, actually, just trying to take it down now. And the table talk has died. Like, we had a little bit of a moment where it was a lot of friendly table talk, which I always like to see.
Absolutely.
When players are laughing with each other. They are playing for a lot of money, but at the end of the day, the sportsmanship is important. It's okay to be quiet. You're playing for a lot of money too. But if you, I was enjoying when they were doing this friendly banter before. And still none of you in chat have updated how you're doing in the free roll. And Skibbit's saying I played with Andras in the 1K in Malta 2 weeks ago. I wasn't at that one. I was at 3 other events in Malta reporting, and one of them reporting and commentating. I'll be back in Malta again for the Party Poker Millions. That'll be the next time I will be in Malta. So hopefully we get to meet then. You can introduce yourself to me. It's pretty easy to find me. I'm a very approachable person, as most people will tell you.
I can vouch for that. And Dylan now, he's going to be ISOing pretty wide, but ace queen's certainly going to be in there, and Alexandros just not wanting any of it with the queen 9. Not a terrible hand, four-handed, especially versus someone that's being quite aggressive, but electing just to get out the way.
And thank you for Supernova for sharing the dates. The Grand Prix Malta, it's also really the Party Poker Millions Malta, where the Grand Prix is the event that I would play. It's a €550 buy-in. I would try to qualify online, of course, maybe try some live satellites. I'm more than happy to plug in €550 when there's a 1 million guarantee. Decent rig structure as well, for those of you that are more concerned about that than I am. Once the prize pool gets to be something ridiculous, the rig becomes lesser of importance, because it brings out, especially as the rig gets a little bit higher, in a way the field gets a little bit softer, because it scares away a lot of the regs, and it brings in a few more, let's say, people that aren't paying attention to that kind of stuff.
That's true. It's good to find a happy medium, though, overall, I would say.
Yeah, I still don't think more rake is better, so let's not like overblow what I said. But
yeah,
in terms of a live event, if there's an extra €10 rake, well, I'm spending probably like 20, 30 euro just for being in the casino on stuff like drinks and food and stuff like that. So I don't mind at all, and I'm also a tipper as well, so like I certainly don't mind paying a little bit more in rake. But to me, like live, these kind of events, I'm going on a poker holiday when I travel. It's a little bit different when I'm playing back at home. So we're all in here with the ace jack. This is not going to obviously be a call by Dylan, so nothing to see here. But Charles is now in shove mode with his 4.3 million stack. Happy to go up to 5.3 million. And Dylan asking for a count. Maybe
yeah, I'm not sure if there's either a graphical error. I don't believe there would be, or he's just posturing. But again, it's quite clear that you're the chip leader, that you do have raise folds here. But just doing a psychological thing, I think, trying to get under the skin of his opponents, as if to say, you're not going to get me off that easily.
There's also a player that I know that I'm not going to mention that sometimes does that, not for that reason per se, but does it just so that they can get like a chip count actually for that person, and sometimes it's hard to read the chip counts now. In this table, it's pretty easy. Everybody's stacked in 20s. These are all, well, we don't think Alex is that experienced based on his hand mod, but he did have a nice result recently. But the other three players, for sure,
had a LinkedIn account
that
said that his job was PokerStars, so I imagine that he plays online tournaments or something like that. But there was also some fishy stuff that came up, so don't need to go into that. There's no proof of it, but if you are bored at home, maybe chuck his name into Google and see what you can find.
But when you're mostly an online player and just going into the live arena, then it gets actually trickier than those that are experienced playing live. There's many poker players that are far better than me, even as a live reporter, counting chips. It's like rather impressive that they can look all the way across the table when I'm doing like a count, and I mutter to myself it's 175, and they'll tell me it's, and I always round to the nearest like 5 or 10 or 20, depending on like where the blinds are at, and they tell me no, it's 177.
Oh wow, okay.
And, like
that's really
and it's not even the player that's like whose stack it is.
Yeah, I agree with Poker Instincts as well. I think that it's really difficult to assess what your true ROI is, and often anything that you think it might be, just cut that in half and you're probably going to be closer to the real number. It's so easy to overestimate yourself in poker, and I learned this the hard way. I was traveling around playing live MTTs, trying to do that for a living. With all the expenses and stuff, it can be quite tricky. So I think you need to supplement it with online or cash games. And we've got something going on here.
It looks like a jam. A 20 big blind shove.
Yeah, just piling it in there. Surprised he didn't go for the... Oh no, he goes for a limp jam, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, we got a little bit off topic there.
But it's a good point also, and even online, like I think I put in, let's say, about 700 entries into tournaments, and in the 25 days leading up to coming up here when I had a little bit of time off.
700?
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite some
I
volume.
mean, I'm multi-tabling. I'm not saying tournaments, but entries. I'll re-enter some events. That kind of stuff. So, if we're looking at like 20 to 30 entries per night, then that's where we get to that 700 number. Just doing quick math, maybe it's 600, 500. But that's the point. Is even that isn't the sample size for me, because I'm playing during the summer when the like when the really good regs are like in Vegas.
Yeah, game selecting, right?
So if I'm choosing based on that, then I'm just tricking myself, and I always want to be honest with myself, so I'm not even looking at the ROI in that time, and I'm waiting until people are back. But even that isn't enough of a sample size for me, because the game is constantly changing. It, depending on who you talk to, about 5,000-10,000 tournaments is where you can get your sample size, but that would be in a static vacuum environment. So
yeah, and also the live poker variants, it is brutal and it is time consuming, but it remains to be the softest form of poker. So, you gotta.
And a jam here under the gun. It was a 3-bet by Charles.
Yeah.
An open 3-bet jam. We're gonna get back to the action. I'm sorry, chat, but we're answering questions that are rather important and that we're happy to answer when there's slow periods. But the action moves so fast, four-handed, and we don't want to miss any big spots. But we do love you all. But we do have aim, shoot, miss. Welcome to the chat as well. Klemofa, thank you for tuning in. Cryonicker, and sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of your screen names, but these are new screen names. So thank you all for tuning in. This is Jason Glatzer, joined by the one and only George Sanford. We have just 4 players remaining, so the action is hot and heavy. 120,000 to the winner.
Andras on the button, opening it up with the ace-5.
Yes, sir. Keep going.
Gets one through as the Hungarian rail go ballistic in the background over simply a raise and take.
That's funny.
Yeah, it is. I quite like it.
Good night, Argo. Thank you for tuning in for so long. Always a pleasure to see you in the chat, but I'm more looking forward to seeing you in person tomorrow. You may or may not be able to get a full conversation out of me tomorrow, because I'm not going to get an ounce of sleep before arriving in Estonia and then straight to work. I'm going to try my best to tough it out through the day and then crash hard for about 10-12 hours. But by the time Tuesday rolls around, I'll be back to my normal self after all that rest. And we can have some fun talks.
So Alexandros opening it up with the ace-8 on the button. Don't think he's going to face any resistance from Charles there. 10-6, just going to let it go. And a couple of raise and takes, nothing too special to report. A knowing nod of the head from Charles. Yes, well done, sir. Well done for opening your ace-X on the button there. A little bit of gamesmanship / jostling around.
And it's interesting, they're all on that left side of the table, actually. They're not spread out at all.
Absolutely. The blind levels are, I believe, 45 minutes or an hour?
They're 1 hour.
1 hour, yeah.
Maybe they'll reduce it when it's three-handed. Some events are doing that now. Some are waiting until it's heads up. But pretty much most events I'm covering these days are cutting the clock when it gets short-handed, because you're getting so many more hands in per level.
Yeah.
That even if you cut an hour to 30 minutes, and when it's heads up, it's going to be still more hands than it would be if it's full ring with 1 hour.
Exactly right. Less people, more of a flow, and just lots more small pots.
I'm just thinking about doing something, it looks like. Timing would be a little bit off if he decides to 3-bet here.
And
But let's just fold.
indeed
Yeah.
fold. Yeah, Dylan lurking there with the pocket nines was going to be sending it into his eye if he did face a murky 3-bet there.
Thank you, Scotty. Guys, I just want to say I've enjoyed the stream the last few hours. Great commentating. Thank you very much. George and I both greatly appreciate these kind of comments. Even if you don't like our commentating, we have thick skins. You can let us know as well. We're here. We're always trying to improve ourselves also, but
Absolutely.
we're very happy with our commentating as well. So thank you very much for reinforcing that thought.
Thank you, Scotty, and thank you, Poker Instincts. Guys, do stay tuned. 4 left here at the Bratislava Poker Festival main event, vying for that 120,000 euro top prize. As you can see on the left-hand side of your screen there, I'm not sure exactly what he's up to, but Dylan has the monster chip lead. That mountain in the middle of the screen. I think he's getting some kind of nasal spray. That mountain of chips, the oranges, the purples, the blues, and the pinks there, amounting to around 24 million, I believe, at this stage, right?
Yeah. And I think they're going on break momentarily as well, so it might be that he's standing up with the break.
But we will finish the hand in progress. Charles on the button here.
Do not know it.
Don't think he's going to shove. Oh, he is for 18 big blinds. I guess because it's four-handed, you've got the big blind ante in play as well, which makes it much more beneficial / attractive to just go and try to take down the 2.5. So it is a nice pickup for Charles before the break. We're going to be off shortly. We will see you very shortly in 15 minutes.
The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, Welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there.
No, zaczynamy.
Oh, discuss this. If it's like that.
You can see the numbers. You can see.
Yeah, 'cause he's fearless.
Yeah, I know.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back as we have 4 left here at the Bratislava Poker Festival. I'm joined by Jason once again. How are you, sir?
Very good, and we learned some interesting information. Obviously, this is 20 minutes in the past, so the players were discussing a deal. That's why the break is a little bit longer. We do not know which player didn't accept the deal, but we learned that the deal was turned down by one of the players, so no deal was made as of yet. That may all change when we get three-handed and maybe even heads up because the payout jumps are hefty. We do know that Charles Le Bonasser, as George looked up, had a 600,000 Canadian cash, which is about 400,000 euros, 450 American, give or take 20,000, but you get the general range. So for him, this won't be his biggest cash. I think for the other three, it will be their biggest cash. Andras has been in big spots before. Dylan looks like he's also quite comfortable. Meanwhile, Alexandros basically just had like 2,000 cashes leading into this event.
That's right.
But appeared to be an online player, but is basically has some body emotion that's a bit different than the other three players, and showing that this is like a nervous spot for him, I would say.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that one.
You can see lines have gone up 250, 300,000. And with an average stack of 11 million, that still means that the average stack is more than 30 big blinds. But you see all three players other than Dylan are below that mark. Dylan with all the chips, all the momentum, and basically ICM is massive at this point in time. It will be until it's heads up when there's no ICM at all. And guys like Charles seem to understand ICM quite well, same with Andras. And, you know, I haven't seen anything completely out of control by Alex. As George mentioned earlier, there were a couple plays after it appeared he was a little bit tilty that caused some small amounts of chips, but no, like, massive mistakes, I would have to say, either.
Absolutely not. I was trying to get a grasp of what this Alexander was quite loud and sort of stumbling around, sort of shouting a little bit. I was trying to work out what he was saying. Couldn't quite figure it out. I think he might have been annoyed at the lack of a deal. That's my best guess based on the body language.
Well, you can't always get what you want, you know. It's, you have to be ready when you enter a tournament. That,
To play for it all.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be like annoying to me. Like that doesn't happen at my local, but you know we're dating myself quite a bit. But it was annoying, you know, when I would go to like in the U.S. to a tournament, and you know, like let's say there's like 7 left, you know, and they want to make a deal, or even 9 left, and it, you know, they try to bully you actually, and that's not right at all. You know, that's I like the idea of like anonymous, yes or no.
Yeah, I do as well, because
And,
then you avoid all of the confrontation afterwards.
Yeah, and I don't want to make a deal 7-handed pretty much ever. Maybe like in something like the WSOP main event, you know, but maybe in something, you know, if I enter stuff with buy-ins that I'm happy to win as like a prize, you know what I mean, like 10,000. Yeah, maybe then, but I would not fully understand, you know, that others may not want to make the deal. You know, there's no obligation to ever make a deal, and there should never be any bullying surrounding it. But we don't know if that's what Alex was on about, to be fair. He does seem quite animated, though, at the moment. Hopefully he can get back to focusing. His focus seems to be on and off at times. It hasn't affected his play that badly, but he could be actually be giving off tells to these experienced players that we don't see quite on the stream as well. You know, stuff with the neck, stuff with how he's moving his arms. Some players are very adept at that. A lot of good field players out there. A lot of them are, let's say, older school players. You know, before we had stuff like the resources that we have today. But yeah, you could see that I think they might be still chatting about the deal. That didn't happen. You can see Alex bouncing around there. Charles very calm. Be quiet to see if we can pick up what they're talking about. Okay, now there's no more chatter, but we could see some VPIP stats. Alexandros with the 38% VPIP. A lot of this can be a little bit skewed based on the fact that some of these players were actually at the, well, no, because we had to restart the stream. So this is just based off the final 6 players when the action was there. Because before that, I would say Alex's VPIP was a little bit lower. And Charles there on the phone. But this is a good time to talk to y'all, chat. So let's answer some of the questions here. Number, there are 4 players left, or hashtag team no deal. Okay, I agree with you, Zippo. Skip it's allowed to make a deal at the Party Poker event. Card Casino also allows deals, so does the Irish Poker Festival. When we're playing for 2 trophies, so any deal involved will have to leave a certain percentage of the remaining prize pool left to be played for. So they're not chopping up the entire prize pool. The event would never end with a deal, but you can see they're still looking at the numbers. So we did give a little bit of a spoiler already that they did not agree to a deal, but we can watch what it's like to make a deal. And it can be complicated at times four-handed. But I have seen plenty of 4-way deals in my time.
Plus this one according to the chip card.
Let's see what other questions we have. What are the prizes left? I think Nightbot can answer that one.
Yeah, you can take a photo as well.
And we don't play for nothing in this?
Good evening to you, X Easy Busta X. Hello, Moses TV. Thank you for sticking with us all this time, Mr. Masu and SB Cards.
So Alex, you're second in chips, then
Declory, welcome as well. It looks like mostly, though, the chat has been rooting for Dylan. Is there anybody here rooting for any of the other players? As I mentioned, I really like the way Andres not only played today, but just watching him in previous events, very impressed with how he approaches poker. Charles, as well, is a very experienced poker player with that 600,000 Canadian cash at the playground during Party Poker Millions. Big, we're happy to have you, but unfortunately it's English only in the chat. But if somebody wants to translate that, I'd be more than happy to respond to it. And it's gone. And I think the action should resume soon. This is the problem with starting to talk deals four-handed. Like, if a player is really uncertain, you know, just cut it off now, but I think it'll be cut off soon. no problem in talking about a deal, but it's when they drag on, and then no deal is made at the end. It really kind of adds time to the player's day. And I know some of you, it's pretty late on a Sunday evening as well. The chat is for Dylan because it's an amazing community. So what community are we talking about here? Is it a certain poker group? Is it the fact that you've all united around Dylan for some particular reason? I'm very curious, actually. He's had quite the day today. The German poker community, that is a tight-knit group. It is rather large and sometimes can be, let's say, localized to some degree.
You make more. They might actually be a better deal for you.
Xflix. I had the honor of having Xflix in as a co-commentator last year. Really enjoyed it. Just met him a few days before. Asked him if he wanted to come in with me. Our chemistry was amazing. He's an amazing guy.
Ja, Kristijan, ja sam mislio ono francuski očeo. Ronaldo je Ronaldo. Ja sam mislio što to stare. Ali ja on tebi Kristijan što je. Ostala je od Kuzera Ronaldo. On počeš, od nek tam prišao, bacao ručio. Stalo je ona veliki rotor. Mali drži, a ja Ronaldo. Ali ovo je mogu tak šediti, tak neskoro mu začal članku, vieš. Mal si mu začal chytiš više svača 8-9 rokov, vieš, keď už svoj končil.
No, there is no deal. I assume there is no deal.
No deal.
Λέει δώσ' μου δύο 800 για ένα και λες ότι δεν δώσ' μου 3. Πρέπει να είμαι στο
I'm starting for
Έλα, we say do ICM, like
Yeah,
person.
it's alright.
Yeah, no problem.
It's great. Everybody can say no. I would do
Yeah,
of my part anyway if there would be a deal.
Let's play no deal.
Yeah, we're all back. 150, 300. You know, this line 300. No deal.
Good luck, guys.
Orbe? Ideme? Sedi.
Yeah, you can do it.
Okay.
I'll connect the server and restart.
Trojka pas. Trojka pas. Kappa race. How much? 1,075,000.
Give it 500.
Check. Check.
No, δεν και τρέχω και πήρα και πάσο. Τώρα θα δεις γλέτη, τώρα θα δεις γλέτη. Δεν θέλουνε, θα σου πω εγώ. Σου πω εγώ αγόρι μου, τώρα θα δεις πω και. Τώρα δεν κάνω ούτε μετά. Άμα, ναι, αυτό να δω. Άμα φύγει, ναι, γιατί οι άλλοι είναι εντάξει.
And there is a 10 on that flop, but there's also a king, which should make Dylan, I mean, he'll likely stick around for a little while, but he's not going to lose that much here. Especially against a player like Charles. And I think Charles will just opt to call, even though it is a draw-heavy flop. I mean, not to the suits, but with that king 10. But now, a king on the turn. This actually is a very troubling card for Dylan. It makes it more likely that the 10 is okay, that Charles is on like some kind of draw. But now Charles with the absolute nuts with this king 10. Does go check, trying to induce Dylan to bet the river.
Δεν επηρεάζουμε, απλά στατίζω με την απληστία, ρε.
And exactly what happens. It doesn't look like a big bet. It is just 400,000 into 1.5 million, and Charles will be raising, but either he hasn't decided how much or pausing for effect. And let's see if Dylan can sniff this out when he gets raised upon. Being that Charles has the nuts, it would be criminal in a way not to raise here. I mean, obviously pocket kings is the nuts on the board, but since he has that block, king 10 is the nuts. Nothing can beat him. Only another king 10 can tie him, in fact. Let's see how much that raise is for. It looks like about 2 million, 1.8 million, close enough. It is for a good part of his remaining stack. And it's nice to see that Dylan is thinking over this spot. Trying to run through the hand once again. Maybe running through some of how Charles played before. I think if he checked, he would have had to call a bet, but going bet raise are a bunch of bluffs. But is he just checking back? I'd say something like Queen Jack pre-flop. I mean, he did with King 10, so I guess he's doing it with Queen Jack. With that, though, raise here in such a spot where we have such ICM payouts, it does look pretty strong to me. Of course, we see that he has a full house, which is probably affecting how I am looking at it, but it does look strong in a vacuum as well. And it's good when you're in a spot in live poker, even taking a minute or two, especially in such like a big final table, is okay. And good fold there by Dylan, very disciplined. And Charles picks up a nice little pot there. So I see a lot of hashtag Team Dylan in the chat, a couple Team Bruce. Can we get a Team Poker Bruce Lee in the chat before George comes back and tells me to stop using that nickname? Yeah, I like the fold there, Caroline. I like that he sat back, thought about it, and understood that, you know, more often than not, he is not good there. Not getting, especially against Charles, understanding where he's at in the event. He does have some bluffs. But it would be quite ambitious to put in half your stack and really be just down to like 6 big blinds, or what was it, 7 big blinds, if he was bluffing and picked off. There we go, K Young. You're making me happy. Same with you, Rob Schaff. And here's George. So quiet about what I did with this Team Poker Bruce Lee. We got the hashtag going in the chat, George, though, but everybody be quiet in the chat about it now. Welcome back, George.
Hashtag going in the chat. Here we go. Wow, look at this. Active chat. Good to see all of you guys getting involved. Still 4 left, so I haven't missed too much.
So we found out a little bit about Dylan. He's involved with this Hirschman group that Felix Schneider's amazing dude
okay.
Is basically brought together this nice community of German poker players. Yeah. And they're all here for support, so it's lovely to see, in fact.
Lovely.
So thank you all for tuning in. Some of you do know me, but some of you are just tuned in. This is Jason Glatzer, been with you all week long. And here with the wonderful George Sanford, back from a quick little break. We do need to rest our voices every now and then.
Absolutely.
In fact, I will let you take over the reins for a hand or two.
No problem. So Andras here in the small blind, 7-6 suited, mulling over his options. Does indeed fall on the limp, and Alexandros 14 million, so just snap pumping it up to $1 million. Don't think Andros is going to be going anywhere with the 7-6 suited. A little too much of a hand to limp fold in this situation. Tom Yates, how you doing, buddy? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, glad to be back. Took a little bit of time away from poker to sort out some stuff off the table. I'm very much looking forward to getting back into the thick of things, playing and media-wise. And Andros flops a piece in the form of the 7-high flush draw. Alexandros just with the 8-high of the snap check back. Deuce on the turn. Interesting spot for Andros, as he, you know, someone who tends to snap act, usually would be on the side of having some kind of showdown. Usually it would consider a little bit longer if they were deciding to c-bet bluff or not. So Andras may be considering his opponent to be quite ace-high, heavy, this kind of holding. Can occasionally have a hand like a 9, could be checking back a queen sometimes for deception. And then, as we see here, just a complete whiff as well. So it doesn't read too much into the timing, just goes with the turn probe for 600k and the action on the Greek.
I'm just getting back in, George, but how is Alexandros in this hand with almost 3 million in the pot? Was it like pre-flop and he just peeled, or did he just go check bet?
He's ISO'd pre-flop, and now he's going for a turn min-raise versus the probe. Andros won't be going anywhere with the flush draw. And I think it's a min-raise, actually. I can see 2 pinks and 2 blues. The pinks are 500k, the blues 100. So I think it's actually up to 1.2 million here. And a little bit of a perplexing spot for Andras.
Did Alex check back in the big blind? Was it a limp pot? Like, does he have any queen 9s in his range? Any queens at all?
He ISO'd the limp and is actually ahead with the king high on the river, the 8 high on the river.
And he's taking a very strong line here, Alex. It's like maybe don't do this at home kind of move, but it's worked out quite well in this hand for him. But he probably doesn't even think he's ahead, so he's probably actually going to bet here. He should be if he wants to continue his story.
Yeah, a lot of button clicking going on in this hand. ISO pre, snap check back flop, snap min raise in position on the turn. Not a conventional line that you face, and Andras is going to be a little bit shocked to see this if Alexandros does indeed give up and win the hand.
So it did get checked back, and Andras is probably wondering what the heck just happened, but this is worth a clap. You know, this is...
Look at Charles there, he can't believe what he's seen. Andras saying you win, but he doesn't know that he's only winning by 1 notch. What a hand.
I'm not sure what quite happened there, but Alexandros apparently has a few different gears going on there, but I think that's the first time we've seen such like a wild bluff with a hand like before.
Yeah, we've seen a couple of indications that he gets a little bit out of line. The Jack 4 offsuit on the button open into the chip leader small blind, and also the very well stacked big blind. Also defended Jack 5 off versus the chip leader with 5 left in a spot where Jack 5 suited would be way too wide. So kind of interesting, making up the rules as he goes along really, and finds a way to win there with just the 8-4 off.
But if he's going to do the same thing right now, he's going to be in for a world of hurt with Charles waking up with the Cowboys from the cutoff or under the gun, however you want to look at it.
Exactly. Would do well not to let the let the positive momentum from that last hand ride into this one, as Charles picks up an absolute monster.
I don't understand Slovakian. Thank you.
I also don't understand Slovakian, so we have that in common. I know Dobry den. That's about it, which is, I think, how you say hello, but with a better pronunciation than I did.
And just to cut you there, as Dylan has rifled into the pocket pinks.
I mean, this is somewhat standard, I have to say, based on the stack sizes, because you are getting a lot of folds from Charles. His ace is still alive, but Charles a heavy favorite to double up. If not, he will hit the rail. Of course, there's some boards where they're chopping it up as well.
Whoa, so many interested parties here. Andras sat there looking for the pay jump with his 4 million. Dylan obviously egging on the spade. A spade or an ace to send home Charles La Boissonnière.
I don't want to see him go out this way, so I'm rooting for a blank. Oh, wow. I mean, you can't really blame either player's play, obviously. Just a bad beat there for Charles.
And Dylan saying to Charles, you played so well, and I completely agree with that sentiment. And F yeah, says the rail.
Well, our chat is extremely happy, I have to say that. And, you know, we've also been kind of growing, you know, on Dylan as well. You know, if he has this much support from a single poker group, he has to be an amazing person as well. So great job by Dylan thus far. He is in absolute control of the event. Unfortunate for Charles, but he still doesn't go home empty-handed for 36,000 euros. Regardless of how much he's won in the past, we do know he won 600,000 Canadian at an event in 2018. When you come to play a 550 buy-in event, if you're told I would walk home with 36,000 without playing a hand, you're going to be happy. So if he's not like happy now, he'll be happy tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. Especially since he made no mistakes. You know, if you make a mistake, maybe you can be hard on yourself. But if you go out on a bad beat, you did nothing wrong, you'd play it the same way again, then you really have nothing to be unhappy about.
Absolutely right. He put in a good stint. He played his best poker, and Andras here can't conceal his smile. You can see on the right hand of the screen he's just made a huge pay jump from 4th to 3rd.
And meanwhile, Andras with the short stack should be able to pick up some chips here with his pocket sixes. It'll be interesting to see though if Dylan could jam. It is just 12 big blinds in Andras' stack. He has been completing in this spots, but we did see some aggression in the past from the small blind. He does indeed jam, and Andras really has to make the call based on the stack sizes.
Absolutely right.
And is absolutely dominating this 6-5 suited.
Yes, sir!
Let's
go!
Okay, we misunderstood. It was a limp by Dylan.
Oh, and then,
Yeah. I got very excited.
No, the last man, just the last man. Man, we always stand behind you, so you're gonna win. No worries, no worries. We have an hour.
I do really enjoy watching three-handed poker. Sometimes I even just tune into streams when I notice that they're down to 3, because it isn't the spot that you personally get into very often, you know, especially in fields that are absolutely massive. I also love playing three-handed poker at this point in time as well, but I wouldn't want to play three-handed poker in general, but when you get down to just 3 players, I'm having my most fun.
It's electric, absolutely. So many interesting situations develop in the short-handed variant of the game. 9-handed, 8-handed can be a little bit crusty sometimes, you know, someone's always got a premium holding. But this is the real Cadillac of poker. This is pure poker at its best. 3-handed, wide ranges versus wide range. And lots of action as we see the snap from Alexandros.
Okay, hold, let's go!
This is fairly standard, I have to say, but given the fact that
easy hold! Let's go,
I
bro!
can't lower the volume a bit, I think.
Yeah, the volume is getting out of control.
Oh my God, on the flop, this could spell trouble for Andres. An ace, maybe some spades, maybe a 10. Now a 10 would be a chop, otherwise he gets an ace. The ace is the only way he can win this hand. This is a little bit much, I have to say. It's nice to celebrate a little bit, but this is basically a little bit unsportsmanlike to Andres, who put in a tremendous performance out in 3rd place for 47,000 euros. I'm not sure if we're going to go on break, but typically the action pauses and heads up so we can set up the heads up table. It looks like we will be going on a little bit of a break, folks. So 47,000 for Andras Balak, putting on another poker display. As I mentioned, I've enjoyed watching him over the past year and change.
Yeah, this is wow. I'm kind of lost for words as to just the energy and the
wonder if they're going to talk about it soon here, because it locked up 75,000, which is quite nice. I think everybody can go to bed happy. But the pay jump is a 45,000 heads-up affair. That's maybe a bit much for both of these players. I don't know enough about Dylan to know if he's played in a 45,000 euro heads-up match, but that's basically what this is, with fairly even stacks at this point. But we will go on a quick break while the TV table is being set up. But it looks like we're being held live, so even though we're not talking poker, as long as the screen doesn't cut off, we'll stick around with you. Try to listen to the energy in the room.
Yeah, it's just getting a little bit out of control there. The rails absolutely erupting after that. Couldn't get a word in edgeways. We'll be back very shortly.
The Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there. The Irish Poker Tour is the biggest thing to happen in Irish poker for decades. From humble tour stops, countrywide, we've become the only conversation worth having on the Irish poker scene. With major international events in Killarney, Galway, London and Bratislava, we've brought poker to the people, and we've brought people to poker. And we are proud to introduce the Irish Poker Festival, Ireland's biggest buy-in main event for over a decade. Hosted in the luxurious Intercontinental Hotel Dublin, welcome to the new home of poker excellence in Western Europe. We can't wait to see you there.
I want to do it just so afterwards they won't tell me because of the pressure of other person I was forced to vote for this deal. Okay? Guys, I just need you to vote secretly so I know that you're both agreed to the deal.
The deal was agreed. Dylan getting the most of it, at least thus far, 93,000. Alex getting 92,000. They are playing now a 10,000 heads up, and for the two trophies.
If you agree to the deal, has to be red card.
If you agree with deal.
If you agree with the deal, it
Oh,
has
they're
to be
still
red
doing
card.
like a red card, black card with two pairs left, but it's obvious that they don't need to do that. That's kind of funny. But I do like it. They are laughing about it. But those of you that are Dylan fans, which is the majority of our chat at the moment, you should be very happy that he did secure at least 93,000 and still has that chance for that six-figure score, if that's like a psychological thing to get your first six-figure score. But either way, 93,000, 103,000, it's been an amazing day for Dylan, and same for Alex. I mean, we looked up his Hendon-Mob, it only had 2,000 in cashes on it. This is nearly 50-fold that. Ah, here we go. Here's the deal agreement.
There we go. So indeed, 93,000 for Dylan, 92,000 for Alexandros, and playing for 10,000, Jason.
Beautiful.
So looking forward to that. Deal was agreed. There's obviously a little bit of a commotion there with the card face down, just in case they weren't on the same page. It looked like they were in complete cahoots.
There's Donald in the background. He was in the comms booth a little bit earlier with none other than Fintan Gavin. He is the tournament director for the Bratislava Poker Festival. I met him actually, surprisingly, like I still meet people in the industry for the first time, despite how long I've been around. I met him for the first time and his son Ferdia for the first time this week. amazing people, though. So nice, so welcoming, so warm, easy to get on with, and doing a fantastic job all week long, I have to say as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been an amazing event, smashed all of the guarantees. Should we have some time to update on the side events that are running as well? We wanted to talk about the high roller. We'll get to that in a minute as the photo opportunities are here for our heads-up opponents. Alexandros from Greece, Dylan from Germany. And it's all smiles as they know they've locked up a career-changing amount of money here. Let's make no bones about it. 92 and 93,000 euros. You can see why the energy is high in the room. The rail are going mad, and they're both absolutely loving life.
And that was Georgie in the middle there, and I want to give a shout out to him because he's working with Party Poker. I also met him for the first time, and he has been working super hard. I'm usually known as one of the first people in, but I think he's beat me in all days but one. Also, nearly one of the last to leave. Busy, busy, busy. Also has an amazing sense of humor, so shout out to you, Georgie. But George asked for some updates about the high roller. So the high roller is down to just 3 players. We don't necessarily have visibility. I don't believe if a deal has been made, but as far as we can tell, none has been made. The last player eliminated was the player that I think George and I would agree upon that was the most well-known of the group, which is Anton Wig, a sick online player, but equally good live player. He took 4th place for 22,700. The final 3 have locked up 28,000 with a 60,000 top prize in that. We do not necessarily know the chip counts, but we can tell you that we believe Martin Ardon from Netherlands is in the lead, and that Gerardo Alcalde from Spain is still in action, as is Fernando Peralta from Argentina. So I'm not sure if he traveled out to from Argentina. I imagine that he's been living in Europe, but maybe he came out from Argentina hearing that Party Poker is back with their live tour after taking a short hiatus from the end of last year. Or maybe he heard about the amazing things about the Irish Poker Fest, or maybe heard about both and decided, let's check out the combination. But we can give updates about the other side events while we're waiting, because we don't know how long we will be.
Yeah, the Bratislava Poker Cup.
That is down to 15 hopefuls.
Let's have a look at the players. 16,000 euros up top there.
And 950 they've locked up.
We'll get a list of the players just to see if there's any familiar names in there.
Ganaminas Bartkus is a fellow, we both live in Lithuania. He's actually Lithuanian where I am not.
Oliver Hutchins from the UK.
Oliver. He won something in Malta last year. I think he won the Party Poker. Yeah, he won the Party Poker event in Malta last year, if I'm correct about that, if my memory serves correct. And Tarka, who we got to know pretty well over the course of the week, did bust out in 19th place. You did see him beast that 5-10 Hold'em stream as a 22-year-old young guy.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And Luka Bojevic is still in this as well. Also a strong Hold'em player, but apparently proving himself in PLO as well. No, this is the Hold'em, I'm sorry. And on to the PLO. The PLO is down to the final 3.
Yep, from 32, so
plus 7 re-entries, I believe.
Okay, so a decent prize pool there for an event where 4 tournaments were running side by side. 3.7k up top for a 300 buy-in, and who are the players left in? Let's see if
Adam Hayas just busted in 4th place for 1,000 for the min cash, and the final 3 are.
Seb is back in there again. What a man! He came 2nd yesterday, my good friend Seb. And now he
Slovakian commentator Seb?
Yeah, that's right.
Well done, well done.
So he's back-to-back podium places.
And I know Roy Walker is a popular character around the tours. He is still in, and Pavel Keller, I do not know much about him, from Poland, also still in action. And let's see if we have anything else that might be still running. The Last Chance Turbo is down to a final table of 9 players. Let's check out the list of players here to see if there's any familiar names going on here.
Maxim Ronchin is a bit of a local legend, a super aggressive, loose player that plays locally.
One of my friends just bubbled the final table, and I didn't even know that he was here.
Oh, wow.
Ivan
Ivanov, named very creatively by his parents.
A very nice guy. I haven't seen him since 2019, in fact, so I would have liked to have run into him.
Raymond Wheatley and Gerard Harahy from Ireland. Well, they're making up the lineup as well. And what did we get up top in the Last Chance Turbo? A couple of thousand? 2.5K, not too bad.
No, not for a turbo at all, with a 150 buy-in. I believe that was a buy-in. I'll double check that to make sure that I am correct. It is indeed a 150 buy-in. And now we have a nice look at these trophies.
Yeah, beautiful stuff. Trophies for both the poker festivals, culminating in double whammy for the winner.
And we had some other big winners throughout the week, even though we don't know who the winners are of some of these big events. But the most notable one was the 100,000 guaranteed 2,500 Omaha that we had the pleasure of commentating. Learned quite a lot about how to approach PLO final tables. I'm good at potentially getting to the final table, but then I have to say that I'm a bit unconfident when it comes to if I'm making the correct decision from an ICM point of view when it comes to PLO. And I feel like I've learned quite a bit. I'm not saying I'm an expert after watching the clinic, but I feel like at least I know what I need to improve upon. And that was won by none other than Bulgaria's Boris Angelov. So we have quite a nice showing from the Bulgarians, I have to say, this week, on top of what we see here in the main event.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. They have a strong poker contingent, and they've come out, and they'll be going home with a couple of euros extra in their back pockets, I'm sure. So that wraps things up in terms of the outer tables. We are waiting for the continuation of the heads-up match. As we have mentioned, 93,000.
I'm just looking here, George, at some of the upcoming events, and apparently there's some kind of banana poker festival.
Mystery bounty, okay.
There's some nice stuff going on, but I think Banana is a group in Poland, actually.
Oh, right, okay.
If I'm matching the correct thing, yeah, because it's the CTO with the dollar signs. It's definitely Polish. It's all part of the same thing. So there'll be a lot of Polish players in Bratislava, being that live poker is not really legal in Poland, and for the most part there are some exceptions to that rule. Expect a nice mix of really tough Polish pros and just really a lot of amateur players that are hungry to play with the Polish poker community. So it might be worth coming out to check that out. Some reasonably buy-in events too, some cash game challenges on top of that, which is really cool. This mystery bounty though, what's the buy-in on that?
100,000 guarantee, and it looks like it's going to be what, €100 buy-in, something like that. Buy-in 70.
But that might not include the
plus
bounty.
The bounty, so 120, maybe a 150 total.
Yeah, either way, it's very affordable, is the point. And there's a monster stack. There's more PLO. I think the cash games will be pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, the Polish poker community come out in big groups. Actually, when they do travel.
What's this?
I think this will be massive.
The 500 KO PLO.
This may get George out of live poker retirement, in fact.
Yeah, what's this? €600 PLO bounty tournament.
I'm assuming it's 1,100 though, because it's a 500.
Oh yeah, 1,100, 1.1K PLO progressive. What's the guarantee on that?
Let's see if it's
20K.
20K.
Fair enough.
It is PLO, so it's still a very nice guarantee for the buy-in.
20 players, it's decent going. So thank you for those of you that are sticking around. Lots of Dylan fans in the chat, eagerly awaiting the continuation of the final table. Good news for you if you're just tuning in is that he's locked up 93,000, playing for an extra 10,000 on top. I believe the stacks are 78 big blinds to Dylan, 70 big blinds for his Greek opponent, Alexandros.
And I don't want to do all the sign-offs, but I don't know how much time we are going to have afterwards, and I want to make sure we get our thank yous in, whether it's now or later, because we're quite appreciative of being here. It's an amazing venue. So first, thanks to Card Casino for hosting this fantastic festival. Amazing venue, amazing people, whether it's the people cleaning the floors, the people dealing the cards, the people serving drinks, all the way up to Lasso, who is the poker tournament manager. He runs a very good ship here, very good stream as
well. And that comes through in the job that he's doing here. Exceptional work from him.
And of course, we would like to thank the Irish Poker Festival and the Bratislava Poker Festival. That whole team, fantastic, very friendly, but very on the ball. I have to say that they've made everything so smooth here. So special thank you to Finton for putting this together, and to, of course, to Donald, to Ferdia, to Jerry, to Juliana, of course, who has kind of like a mixed role as an ambassador for the Irish Poker Festival. but also as helping out with the Party Poker social media, among other things. And special thank you, of course, to Party Poker. Not only the people that are here, which we're about to mention, but we do know that there's some people supporting on the side, people like Colette, who I've known for many years. So I want to give out my love to Colette, and I am looking forward to seeing you in Malta. Hopefully we can have some fun nights after we're done working, just chilling, catching up, talking. I did enjoy our time last year in Barcelona with Mickey. I want to give a special thanks, of course, to the team that is here. That all starts with Antonio, who put the team together. Antonio Sapio is an absolute legend. A lot of fun to be around, is really on the ball as well, and trust people that are capable of doing their job to bring the right suggestions and then following through with them. And I do love working with people like that are always open to ideas and an exchange of ideas. So Antonio, pleasure to work with you and looking forward to Malta. And of course, Georgie, who we did see on the camera before, doing a fantastic job. I just said how hard he was working, so I don't need to repeat myself, but fantastic meeting you as well, and Rob, and of course the lovely Venice, who joined us in the stream. Venice has been working very hard doing interviews and handing out even merch in the morning, even found time to join us in the stream. So amazing work by you, Venice. And of course, thank you, George. George didn't have to be here. He was, I called George up, you want to come in? And George said, why not? I'm ready to get back on the scene. And you could see right away why I brought George in. He's an amazing commentator, but also a good friend of mine that I want to see do well, not only playing poker, but of course being part of those that are contributing to the poker community. And thank you also to all the poker players that have come out. We are back in the action, so I will be a little bit faster with the rest of the thank yous, but thank you to all the poker players, and of course thank you to all of you that have helped support us in the chat here. I know you're not here for us, but it does help the commentating to have such a lively chat going on. But meanwhile, both players with weak aces. Alexandros is suited, nobody hitting a piece of this, and we are dead even during heads up. I believe they did shorten the clock after the deal, and once we went heads up, likely to 30 minutes, maybe shorter, but it's not going to be our blind. So even though there's a lot of playability at the moment, there's a good chance that we might see something happen before you know it. Of course, this could go on for a while as well. And it's a bet by Alexandros after it was checked by Dylan to see the 10 of diamonds turn, and that's not the worst card in the deck for Alex, because he now has a flush draw as well as that ace. He can't be confident that he has the best hand now, but he can push off those 7s and 6s that maybe Dylan might have had while also having a lot of equity at that flush draw. He may have faced resistance with a very strong hand and maybe ran into some issues there, but that's not what happened. Alex taking down the first pot of heads-up action. And George is back, so he didn't hear my appreciation for him, but we are in the action. But George knows that I do appreciate that he came out this week, and I'm happy to have spent the last 4 days with George off and on, because we've had a lot of guests, but the majority of the time it's been George and myself. And it seems like you guys are enjoying that combination as well. So
yeah, appreciate yourself as well, Jason. It's been a good week, and still got a little bit of business to be done here with the heads-up match. But overall, I'm feeling really good about the festival, and nice to ease my way back into the media side. So thanks very much for reaching out. I really appreciate your support, and I think we've done a pretty good job overall. So happy with that, and also, of course, we're not the big part of the picture here. Thanks very much to all the players and the casino staff for getting stuck in and giving us so much to just be happy about. It's been good.
And Alex taking down the first 2 pots. That was a pre-flop one, but Alex now with the lead. And there's one very important person that I didn't thank quite yet, and that would be Supernova, who's actually been here all 5 days with moderation. Donna has been here as well, so thank you to her as well. But Supernova gets an even bigger thank you Fantastic, and part of the reason we have such a nice chat is the vibe that Supernova brings, but doing a fantastic job, and pleasure to get to know you, virtually know you this week, and hopefully one day we will cross paths. I know that you do a lot of moderation and not a lot of travel, but maybe one day that changes.
Absolutely, a stellar job and one of the most professional mods I've seen in action. Everything's been spick and span in the chat, and that's a very important thing because that gives us a lot of energy, and you are very much a part of the overall sort of commentary product that we're providing here.
Of course, making our lives easier, but also interacting with the chat when we can't is also very important. We are often delayed. Many commentators actually don't even interact with the chat at all. They focus on the action, and even that would make Supernova's job even more important. But just the fact that we can't get to every message for sure, and even the messages we do get to are sometimes 5-10 minutes delayed because we do have to focus primarily on the poker action.
Yeah, so thank you for all the love, guys. We really appreciate your support, giving us that last wind needed to carry us through this heads-up bout, playing for an extra 10,000. They've got the big money locked, and now it's a case of still playing for a pretty considerable amount of money, 10,000. They don't want to let themselves get too carried away in this situation. They're still playing a 550 euro tournament, and now 10,000, so almost 20 buy-ins.
And it was a good point that was made to me. Even though because we've spent so much time, we're going to remember who won and who took second place. But years from now, and even later in the year, you're only going to remember who won it. So it's also, if you want that pride, it's not just a trophy, but it's also getting your name etched into the history books of the Party Poker Live Tour, and also the Irish Poker Fest, and also the Bratislava Poker Tour. So there's Bratislava Poker Festival. So there's so much with poker history, and you get a little bit of recognition among your peers when you win such a big event that is as prestigious as this one.
Couldn't agree more, and we got some rip-roaring action occurring here as Alexandros check raises the flop with the bottom pair and gets met by the 3-bet from Dylan, who's flopped the goods, limping in with the king-queen. And actually it's worked out for him quite nicely as he incites a little more action than perhaps he would have got elsewhere.
But I like that at least it looks like we're going to have some aggression during heads up, because what happens very often when you're this deep heads up, it becomes a limp fest, and then really the action kind of, I mean, I do like heads up action, but even like a 4-hour heads up action, but only when there's actually action, you know, not like a limp pot, single bet fold, you know, it becomes very repetitive after a while, and then you're just waiting for that one big clash where somebody has ace king and another person has jacks or queens, and getting it in that way. And this looks like they're playing some post-flop poker and ready to put each other to the test.
That's for sure, and we have seen from Alexandros he can be quite clicky, quite aggressive, and certainly not someone that's overly tight, so he's going to make up for a good half of the heads-up match, whereas Dylan, we've seen, be very shrewd, knows what he's doing, plays extremely well, a very calm and present table presence.
So 1.5 million in the pot with a min raise and a call. This flop doesn't really hit anybody very well, but Alex is still technically ahead with the king high. If he bets and he's raised against, though, he's going to have to give up the best hand. But very often Dylan, well, what do I know? Dylan with some backdoors and an overcard, he is raising. That's much different than calling. I thought that was a call for a second.
What do we have here? This is insane. A check raise pop.
And he
they haven't
snapped
got a
it.
pair or a draw between them.
Yeah, I'm not sure what Alex was up to with that call, and now he gets rewarded for the just not even thinking about it, flicking chips in, improving to top pair.
This is the absolute gin card for him, obviously turning top pair, and Dylan now has some equity in the form of a gut shot, and does elect to wave the white flag here. It's a board that's so dry with so few draws that he may feel like he's going to just be running into a jack X a little bit too often.
This is awfully like splashy the way he's playing now. This is a new Alex that we're seeing. It's like the third different Alex personality that we've seen at this final table.
Yeah, he's really shifted into many various forms. and just kind of chucking the chips out as though it's a Sunday night home game with his buddies for a $5 and a bottle of beer.
Meanwhile, Dylan remains as composed as ever, and now even has kind of like the hand on the elbow. A lot of players now are doing like the hand on the shoulder to emulate Espen Jorstad, who did that infamously during his run at the 2022 WSOP main event. And there's something to that, actually. If you keep in the same form as much as possible, it controls your body movements and reduces the amount of tells that you could be giving off. Thinking about what to do. Oh, he does indeed call with the gutter.
Yeah, seems fair. Queen high can still be ahead of 7-5, 7-4, 4-5, 4 deuce. Maybe some worse queen high floats that now bluff. And I think the game is up at this stage. Would be a very thin call. Not really sure what we could beat. Maybe a hand like 10-9 with the back door.
He may be thinking about raising here, though. I don't think so, though. I mean, queen high, it does have showdown value, but that 5 kind of ruins so much of it.
Yeah. Kind of mulling it over here. Still want to get his cape on and make the queen high call that he could go mad if he were correct. Doesn't seem to be the case, though.
There are not enough. I would normally say there's not enough bluffs, but calling that check raise basically on the flop was a little bit suspect to me. I thought it was maybe out of a little bit of frustration with Dylan taking a few big pots off Alex before it was heads up, when it was still, I think, 6-handed.
Yeah.
And then basically running over him a hand before as well. So, I mean, he did have top 2 pair. He does call, though, makes a hero call.
Calls with queen 9.
This could be a momentum shifter now, with Alex holding a 2-1 chip advantage over Dylan, but Dylan, I don't think, is ready to give up by any means.
Absolutely not, and Alexandros, the benefactor of an insane turn card there, floating carefree with the just bare king high on the flop, drilling the turn, and somehow gets 2 streets out of queen high. Crazy stuff so far.
Supernova, any chance we can get that payouts updated to say Dylan 93,000, Alex 92,000, still playing for 10K? Because those payouts are originally correct, but they did make a heads-up deal. As most of you know, those of you that are just tuning in maybe just found out about it, but basically I believe most of you were already here when we said that. Borbag, another new name, but a recognizable name. Steve Prix, welcome. That was very nice, Decory, basically saying tuned in for Dylan, but happy to listen to our commentating as well. So thank you very much for the compliment. I mean, Caretaker, a queen high call is a little bit read heavy, I would say, but still, I remember when Vitalis Zavaratnis won an event in Estonia, he made a jack high call, and I asked him about it after the tournament, and he ran, his thought process was absolutely amazing, and he said, I have to call there. I forget what the board is, but in certain situations, a queen high call is more than good.
Yeah, that one was a little bit tricky to actually think of hands he beats. It just has to be completely random nothing that is actually bet called the flop, bet turn, bet river. So yeah, pretty crazy stuff.
Interesting flop, actually, because Dylan with a pretty decent holding, even though he hasn't connected, a queen would give him obviously the Broadway, but basically he has the nuts to the non-connected board. The king-queen would be that, and Alex connecting with the jack, opting to slow play it out of position. Not really so much of a slow play, but now he is. And Dylan happy to just check it down with the showdown value. That's all he has now. So it wasn't that interesting after all.
No, but we will see a nice juicy value bet from Alexandros.
And will Dylan hero call again? Because what's betting here? I mean, he may even raise here because the pot's small enough for him to do so, but just calls with his king, and Alex getting value again. the cards are going his way.
Definitely. They've been going his way the entire tournament. He won the huge pot to take it to the heads up with the Queen Jack suited versus Ace Jack suited.
Not sure what Dylan was thinking there. He blocks a lot of bluffs and even loses to some of them.
Yeah,
But would those bluffs always be betting is a question. I guess Alex might be actually, so that's a good point. You really don't want to have a 9 in your hand because it blocks a lot of 9-8s, 10-9s, etc. That's a very
That's
good...
not true because the 9 actually unblocked the backdoor flush draw 9x. So like he had the only 9 that didn't block those because he's not just going to float with backdoor straight draw, I think. But I agree with the sentiment. It was a loose call, and I don't think that there were many hands he could beat there. And it would have to be very creative. Usually you don't tend to see people find the counterintuitive spots.
And we're back saying that they play mostly on Party Poker. I'll be rejoining Party Poker now that OptiBet has been introduced into Lithuania, which is on the Party Poker network. I played a lot on Party Poker. I mean, I'm probably one of the first players ever to play on Party Poker. I would have to look up that stat, but I was playing on Party Poker in 2002 or 2003.
All right.
And then a little bit on Empire Poker, which was like basically combined cash games with Party Poker. It was all part of the same network, but then had very soft tournaments, I have to say, back in the day.
Yeah, good one.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't massive fields. It's kind of like, you know, like if you like to reduce variance, I used to just play and want to optimize daily sessions. The smaller fields are better for variance reducers. Same with, I used to play a lot of sit and goes. It's a similar idea. But we have some action here, so I'll be quiet about myself because this isn't about me at all. And we have a bet by Dylan with just this Jack 3. And Alex, who's been sticky before, not sticky now with a little bit there, but not really enough to, I guess, continue. I'm kind of not going to try to predict what Alex is doing because he's called with less equity than that before.
Yeah, just surrendering this one. Not sure what the casino representative is up to on her phone, standing next to the stream table. Any idea what she could be doing there? Maybe updating the dealer on something?
Maybe telling them that the blinds have gone up is possible as well.
Yeah.
Because I believe the blinds have gone up, but let's double check that. I think the clock is moving a little bit faster at the moment. Yes, it's now 200,000, 400,000, so that is a bit of a difference, and before you know it, they will go up again. When it's heads up, very often they reduce the clock. We can't tell from here what the clock is. We can ask, but I don't think it's that important, and when you're playing heads up, we will see as it happens, but it's much faster than before. Bless you, George.
Thank you, sir.
Nothing happening here, nobody with anything, even after that 3 of hearts turn. Alex Andros, though, currently ahead with the king high, and the 10 of hearts on the river. Nope, it does get checked down, and another small pot there for Alex Andros, so.
Yeah, heads up can be such a tilting format when you just feel like you're getting pipped all the time by your opponent. That's kind of what's happening now with Dylan. Made a somewhat of a speculative call there, didn't really get the logic, which was certainly not in line with the rest of his final table play, which has been excellent, if not exemplary, I would say. So it is easy to go through peaks and troughs of energy and focus, and also performance on final tables. And it's just important to, I would say, poker at this level, at the sort of intermediate to higher level, like a 550 live buy-in, it's more important to avoid blunders than it is to play your absolute A game at every single second of the tournament, which is simply impossible. So just avoiding those kind of blow-ups or disasters is going to be the key focus.
So a limp pot, already 1.2 in the million with the blinds as high as they are. And Alex back to the quick, just flicking chips in, but this is just a min bet. Did connect with the bottom pair, but it's Dylan with the middle pair. I don't think he's going anywhere. Quite a decent hand in a limp pot. He may even raise it. He did indeed raise it to 1.2 million.
Yep, so raising for value / protection. And Alexandros, fairly sticky. He's got a piece. I don't see him going anywhere just yet.
It looks like, though, he might be racing back.
Yeah, this is...
I mean,
it's just a bit of a clicky maniac, isn't he, in some spots?
I can't predict how he's going to play at all, which just makes him such a tricky opponent, actually.
Tricky, and I think somewhat ego-driven from what I'm seeing. It's these kind of players that are just always like clicking you and 3-betting around and using random hands. Usually it's because they just don't like to be like shunted out of the pot. It is interesting to commentate on when you can see the combos, because you do play against these players and think, what the hell are these guys up to? They're always doing this weird stuff. And
he's basically just repping something like ace-5 that might have limped, but I don't think Alex is lipping that heads up, so maybe the 9-5 he's repping, but does get the better hand to fold, so well played there by Alex, maybe having a read of sorts, but I don't think he's reading anything, to be fair.
I don't think so either. I think he's just clicking buttons and running pretty well, that he doesn't run into a stronger hand at 9-7 there. Dylan pretty much with the bottom of his value check raise.
I'm going to date myself a little bit, Borbag. I've been playing there so long. I mean, I haven't been playing there in recent years because I live in Lithuania, and it was removed from Lithuania a number of years ago. That I used to play in the Sunday Major when it was a limit event. And even like their Party Poker Millions cruise stuff was limit. They were really one of the initial entries into the online poker arena, and back then they were the biggest as well. So it was they grew into the biggest, and because of their compliance, which you have to applaud, you know, they left the U.S. market before the rest of them, which had like an effect on the overall ecology of the site, but it was the right thing to do. Look at this, 9-deuce and flopping 2 pair.
This is
Life
a real
is
cool.
good.
Queen 6 is a very strong holding on this board in heads up. And Alexandros, after all of his clicky theatrics that we've seen across the final table, finds a spot where it's going to come in and he's going to get a payday here, because I don't think Dylan is going anywhere. Well, he's certainly not to the raise.
Not against Alex, who's
jam
playing like this
to be
too.
honest.
Because we just saw him do it with just bottom pair.
Yeah, he can do it with all sorts, and Queen 6 is doing very well. So I could see him calling, and he may even just jam for value here. If he runs into a 9, so be it. Obviously, we know Alexandros has got better than that, but he's going to have lots of random gut shots, overcards with the backdoor flush draw.
Fabulous Poker saying Dylan is being outplayed. I would disagree a little bit, just because on heads up, if you're getting hit with the deck of the cards, let's forget about that last hand where it was an interesting play by Alex, but in general he's getting the cards. And it is a jam, folks! Yeah. And a snap call, of course, by Alexandros.
This guy runs unbelievably well.
Wow. I mean, Dylan still has some hope, but he's a 4-1 underdog. We could have a new championship, but I do want to see Dylan up for the chat.
Yeah, he's going to need a queen or a 6 only, 11% equity, just running into some weird plays and running into better hands. Alexandros from Greece taking it down. Dimogeorgis, Alexandros Dimogeorgis.
I'm glad you said that and not me, but congratulations to Alexander, and congratulations to Dylan as well. I mean, you got a new poker nickname. You're now the Poker Bruce Lee, and you got a 93,000 runner-up prize thanks to making that deal. So wise move there. You had the small chip lead, made the deal. And I do like the sportsmanship between the two here. So despite some rowdiness by Alex, it does seem now that he's won, happy. He has shown some tremendous sportsmanship here, and perhaps it helps that he won that extra 10,000 for 102,000 total. Those two trophies, you see Georgie coming out getting that trophies ready for picture taking, but maybe we have some time to, I know we just said thank yous about 20 minutes ago, but you can never say too much thank yous when you're this appreciative. George, I'm going to let you take the lead this time because I did my thank yous already, so why don't you say what you're appreciative of?
Yeah, I've got a lot of gratitude for the guys at the Irish Poker Festival that have powered not only the stream, but the Bratislava Poker Festival in general. The guys have come over, they've put on a great show, lots of PLO in the schedule, which is what I like to see as a PLO player, and I feel that that's the big growing game in the market. So seeing a lot of potential moving forward from that perspective. Thank you to the floor staff and the dealers, of course. Card Casino continuing to distance themselves from the competition and forming a big push. It's almost like a mini Rosvedov here in some senses, or even eclipsing that in terms of the guarantees. The floor and the venue has so much potential, and that's really being realized over the past few months. So good stuff from Card Casino, great stuff from Bratislava Poker Festival and Party Poker, and overall, yeah, happy to have had the opportunity to join you, and thank you again to such an active chat, full of good energy, support for Dylan. Unfortunately, a tilting heads-up match for him, just couldn't really get anything going. His opponent either had it or made some weird bluff that he had to fold to, so unfortunate for him, but Alexandros is our champion there, just having a sip of his Red Bull, and he is going to be going back to Greece with 102,000 euros extra in his back pocket.
I can only imagine the party that's going to happen with Alex here, just based on how he
he seems
is.
like a bit of a live
It's going to be a crazy party. Probably I'm too old to want to be at that party. I would want to just know about that party. But yes, massive congratulations to Alex. Well played also, Dylan, and the rest of the final table players. And thank you again, everybody in the chat. We did appreciate having all these Poker Bruce Lee fans in the chat. I squeeze in once more, George. One more time. Maybe we could even get some hashtags for the Poker Bruce Lee to show some love. He did play quite well for the runner-up. Thank you again to everybody at Party Poker. I already named, I think, just about everybody that I did earlier. Once again, to Card Casino, to George, of course, to everybody top and bottom. We have our Slovakian commentator, Sten, come in. He wasn't the only commentator for the week, so for those of you that were coming in from our stream back and forth to his, fantastic job also by the Slovakian guys doing local language comms, even though there were no Slovakians on the final table, so that's quite impressive.
Good job.
And yeah, I'm looking forward to my next trip back to Card Casino, and of course my next trip to Irish Poker Fest, which will likely be for the Dublin stop that crosses over with the Party Poker event there. And I will be in Malta, folks, for the Party Poker Millions and Grand Prix. I'm not going to come the first day just because I have a prior engagement, but I will be there 90% of the time. So if you are planning to go there, or if you did qualify there, maybe through one of our amazing free rolls, hope to see you there. Please come and introduce yourself. I probably will not be in the commentating booth, maybe for like a stint, but pretty much everybody in Malta, if you say, "Where's Jason?" they'll point you out to me if you don't know what I look like. I'm pretty well known there. So thank you once again, and hopefully, George, we can do some comms again in the near future. I've actually had a blast doing this with you. And
had a great time as well, mate. Yeah, thank you for your closing thoughts there. Really appreciate your work. You've done an exceptional job. And from us at the Bratislava Poker Festival, it's good night and see you next time.
Alex, can you give me your ID card? Make information on the paper. ID card. Will be faster. Good morning. Girls, can you give me your ID card for payouts?
Yeah, I'll just keep the...
Just like it, just like it.
Those photos, remove this banner, and photos.
They want to leave it here.
How the hair is positioned in the place. Take a picture of this, of this.
I think just we I understand, but yes, I can hear
yeah.
So this
I will remove it from this side.
specifically.
They
want to do it.
When I go to Vegas,
Okay, so just make sure if you need I think. I don't know. He was gone on.
Of course. Sure? Maybe he, my friend won't. Έλα μαζί, έλα μαζί. Έλα εδώ, έχει βάλει το κινητό μου.
You want to do first the photos only with the winner, and then we have the friends?
Now we one photo for me and I leave.
Sure,
Go and leave.
sure.
No, I have my phone. Έλα εδώ.
Έλα, σου ανοίγει ρε, Κώστα.
Thanks a lot. Το θυμάμαι. Βγάλε 2-3 και εντάξει. Ευχαριστώ, bro. Ελάτε πάρε και φαΐ άμα θέλετε.
Ramona, do you remember the winning hand?
Yes, 9 deuce off.
Off is
But this is not for the...
Like 9 of spades and deuce of clubs, I think.
Yeah. 9 of clubs and
so.
or something.
Yes, there.
9 of clubs and deuce of spades. That's
Πεντάρικα πάνω. Είπαμε έχεις πολλά τώρα, αλλά όχι έτσι, φίλε, σκουρποχώρη.
Σταμάτα. Τι μαλάκα.
Ασημάδευτο έχεις.
Σε τουράκια.
don't breathe.
Yeah, his favorite hand. New favorite hand.
I'm a dog.
I think we're taking a piss or something like that.
Do you want to sit down in the chair, Jerry?
Yeah, you want to say, right?
Yeah.
You sit down in winner's chair, please, Alex. Pyramid.
Don't breathe too much.
No breathing.
Don't breathe.
Very good.
Okay, maybe have a couple. Maybe
it's
have a
okay
couple
now.
more photos, please. Maybe you can show it like this on top and then like this probably.
Okay.
Some serious, some
They
big
will
smile.
think I'm a dog, but okay.
A dog that just won 100K.
Yeah, I'm dog. Defense at 5. So one this.
One like this on top and then separated. One serious, one big smile. I know you want just 100,000, but can we have the $1 million smile? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
But pick the best, bro.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he will pick the best.
That's why he makes like 10 of them.
Thank you. This?
Yeah.
Hard to refuse him now.
Okay, let's have some more, please. Let's have you
With the
raise
trophy.
this
Wear the
trophy.
cap.
And
Do you want to wear the cap, no?
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Θα κάνω ό,τι θες μες τους. Και στρατές πάνω ανεβαίνοντας.
Oh, it's nice.
Okay, you can sit down. You can sit down. I'm going to give it to you, so you can take it like this and raise it.
Now will be up.
No,
In the chair.
sitting, so we can have the logos.
Ah, okay. So up this.
Yes. Yeah, just like you won Wimbledon, sir. High. Get it high. Okay, now let's get you the other trophy.
This trophy I want. But these two moves.
Yeah, we're going to be very
If we
quick.
come to my head, no.
Oh, okay, we're going to be very quick with this.
Which is heavier?
You can start doing reps with it now.
Do one like kissing the trophy.
Yeah, that's good.
I cleaned it several times.
Doesn't matter. It's his trophy now.
Yeah, this is pure gold. This is gold.
Yes.
Oh!
Now, nearly finished.
You might
again?
get up with this.
Thank you very much.
I have to be in some kind of picture, I know. I read what was emailed in the morning. I have to be in some kind of picture.
Be in this picture.
I think he's written about that. Who is
You will be ordered in one picture with me.
And me.
And you.
So let's have
Julie. You want to take as well?
My phone is dead. For Twitch and Ramona, your favorite Ramona.
I'm not on Twitch.
You should know your own
Everybody looking this way. Eyes open. Eyes open.
I'm just going to check. Take one more for safety. Looking this way, everybody.
Jerry.
Maria, κατώ δεν είπες.
Perfect.
Κατώ δεν μου είπες.
Did you get the invitation now? Formal invitation to Ice Poker Tour? It's hard to argue now.
Are we ready?
Lovely, Alex.
2 more winners. 3 more winners to come.
Have we got one now?
Ναι, γιατί δεν ήξερε.
Alex.
Did you buy them directly?
I lost 5 satellites first. I lost 8,000 to other tournaments. I am 2 weeks.
Okay, that's very good. Make sure you tell him you lost 8,000 on this festival or before that.
On this but not always. I stand here. 2010 there is some...
During the time.
Yeah.
I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Make sure you ask him in the interview how he go, if he seems to lost like 8 or something like this, before 8 satellites, and then he qualified and actually won.
I don't know very good English, but if you want, we can see it before the interview.
You want this in the interview, or I can get it clear? Well, then you have to build them back. I'd rather take. You can have a nice interview at the banner or something.
And I will
Would you like to see me into your
Will I say?
I think we have a deal, so we can get pictures of the just a quick one. It's gonna be Hannah?
Okay. You have that card in when you're cashing out.
So no money with this.
They were very precise for these cards on mystery bounty, so I suggest you not to lose
Πώς θα μας βγάλει, θα σας βγάλω εγώ ρε παιδιά, εγώ για άλλες δουλειές.
Περίμενε να βγάλουμε και μία έτσι πρώτα. Άιντε ρε Κώστα, βγάλε εδώ μία με το prize pool.
Θα δω καλή. Κάτσε κι άλλοι. Πείτε, όποιος θέλει να σοβαρή όμως, μην κάνεις τέτοια.
Πιάστο, κούπα είναι. Κούπα, σήκωσε την κούπα. Σήκωσε την κούπα.
Είναι το πως είστε.
Και εσύ.
Είναι το πως είστε. Κούπα πιο κάτω.
Κανόνες να μου φέρεις καπέλα. Κανόνες να μου φέρεις καπέλα. Λοιπόν, παιδιά, μπράβο, Άλεξ, για τους υπόλοιπους βέβαια και στα δικά σας, εύχομαι, να είστε καλά, πάμε να κλάψουμε εμείς οι ηττόντες.
Αλήθεια, το χαρήκαμε πάρα πολύ, το είπαμε κιόλας, μακάρι να το είδαμε στο τελικό.
Πήγαινα και μαλακία.
Alexander,
Oh, okay, that's a great idea, Susie. Thank you very much.
We can wait. Okay. We have time. So, we have to wait or no? Okay, we do it now. Ah, ja sprawim.
We prefer a girl's touch, so...
Oh, no. Teraz mi aj better. Ja by som to dal po 20, možno. A na striedačku. Na striedačku som to dal. Ja, ale ja som to tak, že červený, modrý. Ja tak myslím, 500, 100, ale tu je urob, ako urobíš. Mne to je jedno.
Ja som chcela dať červené na môj.
Ja si chcel, že modré, červené, takto si chcel, hej? Jak spravíš, tak bude.
Je to lepšie.
Anyway, I'm done. Come down for a picture? Yeah, I made a deal. I go through. How do you decline my call? Never. I saw it on my screen. I would never do such a thing. I see that you lie ever. Literally never. Literally never. Are we Rico? If you saw it, just invite her. You saw it. Decline. That's not he's not there. You're red. I would never. Are we taking a picture or what? Yeah, there's something else. Oh, okay. Then I think I have to get my money. The one that you managed to win when we don't have any percentage of it.
I think Turkey wants to be, obviously.
The best run possible. You said you were going to win. guard said, and they all, are you going back? And I said, it should be, I don't know, it's late. She said we have 1 hour. It's too vague. I don't know what you mean. Tell me what's still, yeah.
Okay.
What's that?
Camera's over here.
Should I be in the middle? Focus, but maybe on the back. The whale quadrant. Thank you, what to do, you know? Take a knee, otherwise he won't fit in the picture. Yeah. Just move this chair. Move the chair. One more for luck, guys. Is that enough? Yes. Still not a good one.
Yeah,
Stop blinking, guys.
Yes, we got it. Alright, we got it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so we need to hold down, guys. And no payout desk, huh? We're gonna go? No, we still need.
Picture.
No, not now. Yeah, after. But he has them written down anyway.
Hello. What's happening? I don't know what's happening. Hello?
Just add that up, okay? Okay. You need a chair.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get this.
Chair.
Sorry, guys.
Do we have the winning hand, or we don't have a
There wasn't a
hand?
hand.
It was a deal?
Yeah. There was a three-way. That's why we had the other three.
Yeah. Okay, so what I suggest is a couple of serious photos, then $100,000, then a $1 million smile, and then we give you the trophy and you hold it up like Roland Garros, for example.
I know.
Don't tip the head too much.
Huh?
Don't tip the head too much.
Yeah.
Come on, make
Perfect. Yeah, if you celebrate. Do you want the one of Elimination?
Sorry?
You want him to lift?
No,
Of course. Oh, you want one with yeah. David, where are you?
Do you want to have your lift it up? But
you get to actually hold it up.
The least amount.
The least amount.
Yeah, I can see it.
Hold it up the least amount.
Hold it up really high, sir. Really high. And let's see those big smiles.
Alright. No, it's good. That's all you need.
Are you flying?
No, I drove.
But you could still wrap it up.
I drove because I want
something to wrap it up.
Trophy.
I don't know.
Would be great.
I would prefer to get confirmation of my money now, to be honest, than wrapping this thing up. Wait till you see what Rusty said.
Yeah, any kind of wrap up.
Yep, we'll work on it for you.
That's classic Rusty right there. So they're gonna send that to you or something? I feel slightly left that take action.
Are you gonna send pictures or are they gonna be uploaded?
Oh, there you go. Website, Facebook, there you go. Definitely gonna be on back of his car.
Bratislava Poker Cup to retake your seats. Tournament will start in 2 minutes. All the players remaining. Bratislava Poker Cup tournament to retake your seats. Tournament will start in 2 minutes.
Yeah, sorry. Did you like? You can talk about losing. Got to, man. All right. For sure, it would be nice to just job, Rico, guard the trophy. I'll guard it. It's not going anywhere. Oh. You just right. I think I probably look more the part.
How heavy is it?
Well, if you break it, I wouldn't touch it. I really wouldn't. She also might.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, well, I mean, I can't. I'm just too much of a minefield. And someone that looks like that, I'd be surprised. I know. Sure. Alright. Whatever you gotta do. If this was arranged marriage time, you won the high roll. Yeah, you won the main event. Where did they go? Where did they take it? They're going to take it. What? Oh, okay. They're gonna like. Alright, I'm going upstairs. I'm getting one more drink.
Okay, so if you go back to home festival, have everything, or you play some other side of it, or something that you didn't get? Okay.
Possibly download them quickly and send them to me, right?
I don't know if I will do it tonight because I'm absolutely shattered.
I bet. Everything finished tonight, right?
Yeah.
Million photos.
Yeah, and I have to do 1, 2, 3 more interviews. 3 more sets.
And then you're done? Okay. I mean, after...
Yeah, and I have to pack everything up, and I'll probably have to put the main event interview up tonight. And then,
Irish, right? Like a lot of them. You're gonna have fun. Just have to find a place, right? You have the booze here.